All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently for the intro to finish up there, allowing a little bit more time for people to get notified that we are going live. We're back, another Sunday stream, and it's always weird because I feel like Sunday for me, well, technically it is the beginning of the week, right? At least where I am. But Sunday never really felt like the beginning of the week. But ever since I started doing my Sunday streams, it definitely feels like the beginning of the week. So appreciate you guys joining me today. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody is well rested. I feel like I have to say that because, man, I got some good sleep over the last like 24 hours, which is nice. And Corey the Legend Landiga. Corey, what is going on, man? He comes in and he does what he does and drops the 5 memberships for you guys. Corey, thank you so much for that, buddy.
I'm no hero.
Boss is here with us,
Never
I assure
was.
you. He is,
Never will be.
he would be up there, I think, but Leia's up there. We know why you do it, Corey. We know why you do it. Boss is right here below me, just staring at me. I did put something in front of my power strip, so he shouldn't be able to do anything to interfere with that. I had to do it. He just was being too consistent with trying to seemingly end the stream, even though his goal is to get treats. So, yeah, thank you for the 5 memberships, guys. Thank you for the memberships in general that you guys drop on the channel. We are going to be talking. We are going to be talking about a lot of hardware today, actually, and a lot of hardware features because I was a little bit behind on some topics, and we're going to be catching up today. But we also have some new stuff that came out as well, so it kind of works out. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mark. That sucks, dude. Insomnia is terrible. Yeah, and here's boss. Yeah, insomnia is terrible, dude. I hope you can. I hope you can get some good rest soon. Michael, yeah, I just decided to scrap it. It got a little bit out of hand. Um, so no worries on that one. You just started playing Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. I'm assuming you mean Delta, the one that just came out. Yeah, I'm still playing it. I'm actually like at this point, as I'm playing it, just getting very excited for the multiplayer mode. I really hope it doesn't get canceled or anything like that. Because I don't know, the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid Delta actually, I have to admit, it feels better than I expected it to. I thought it was going to feel more dated and I was going to feel that, but they did a really good job making it feel contemporary and making the necessary changes and adjustments to make it feel like a modern game, gameplay wise. Putting certain mechanics aside, of course. Has the performance gotten any better? Any updates? As of right now, I don't think there's been a patch for performance yet, but if you go on Konami's website, they have officially confirmed that they are working on it. They're working on performance across both consoles and specifically the PS5 Pro as well. They're going to offer different modes for the PS5 Pro. They just don't have a timeline for it. They did say that it might take them just a little bit, so to be patient. So it sucks that we have to wait because the game is already out, like it should have been there day one, but it's good that they acknowledged it and that it should be coming sooner rather than later. I hope we don't have to wait much longer, but I've still been playing it and enjoying it, even with some of the issues. And we have William Aguilar, member for 22 months. William, thank you for that, buddy. He says, I just posted about the new corporate report if you're interested. I also include a great quote from the Shino at the end you might like to read. Well, William, thank you for that. Yeah, you do some good work, dude. And I always appreciate what you do with your kind of compiling of the different stuff regarding the more business oriented side of PlayStation at times. Because yeah, we do have something along those lines that we're going to be covering. We have the corporate 2025 report, and I'm not going to go over the entire report. It covers the entirety of Sony, but I want to specifically go over the games and network services section because that's the one that's most pertinent to viewers here what's going on with PlayStation, Sony's gaming division. What are their priorities? A lot of it is what you would expect. There isn't anything that I would deem shocking or surprising. No, they did mention Marathon, I believe, actually. They mentioned a couple of games. The one thing they didn't do is give us any hint at games beyond what has already been announced. And I just put out a question on my Twitter, and I'm going to be curious to see what people have to say. And that is, we know that Sony's doing a show before the end of the month. The question is, do we think it's finally going to be a showcase, or are we expecting another state of play? Right? They don't give any hints. I was kind of looking at that a little bit. I know that they probably weren't going to, or I knew they weren't going to, but it was worth just kind of like, is there anything here that could give us any indication whatsoever? But we'll find out soon enough. Um, but yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about another PlayStation 6 leak. The full specifications have leaked out. And when I say full, I mean like seemingly the entire makeup of what the PlayStation 6 is going to be. The original leak we got from Moore's Law is Dead had a couple of areas where it was seemingly still unsure. Since then, it's been clarified and updated. It seems like the PS6 is going to be a little bit more capable than we originally thought. So we're going to go over that. And there is a little bit of controversy surrounding the PlayStation 6 spec leak in that one aspect of it is being compared to an RTX 5090. And that has, to put it lightly, that has some people either very annoyed or just straight up laughing at that notion. So, I'm not the most technically versed person here. I don't really follow high end GPU cards, but we'll go over those specs. And we also seemingly have some type of, I can say it's official because Sony acknowledged it, but Sony seems to officially acknowledge that PSSR 2.0 is what's coming next year, um, which we'll talk about that as well, the big PS5 Pro update. I think that you would like my breakdown of the corporate report. It focuses on PlayStation Plus. I included quotes from Totoki and Nishino. Okay. Yeah, we'll go over that, William. I appreciate you letting me know. I'll have to bring that up. I guess I could try to do it with boss on my lap here. He's just gonna chill here. He knows. He's like, I'm just gonna wait. I don't get it. They said that they aren't going to make consoles important, and now they are. Will the real PlayStation please stand up? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that as well. Um, it's more of, I would say, a clarification, right? Like, I don't think consoles were ever not important for Sony, but this boy just doesn't know what to do with himself, I'll tell you. But yeah, William, let me bring that up because that is where we're going to start. Got to be careful with early PS6 specs, MBG. The PS5 was famously compared to a 3080 Ti way back in the day. It's nowhere near that. Yeah, a lot of people were bringing that up, Spartan. And that's why, like, to be honest, I don't like, I'm at a point where when I saw that, I'm just like, okay, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put it out there that this is what's being said. And a lot of people are basically jumping to, yeah, that's not going to be a thing. Now to clarify though, he's only saying like one aspect of it is going to, and so I think it might be one of these things where a frame of reference is trying to be given for a specific aspect of the PlayStation 6. And I think people are maybe walking away from it saying, like, did he just say the PS6 is going to be a 5090? You know what I mean? I think some people are walking away from it thinking that that's what's being said. So we'll go over that in depth and make sure that that's clarified and cleared up. But you're absolutely right. We always have to be careful with these early spec leaks and the comparisons that are being made. Um, naturally, the comparisons you know, to GPUs that are out there on the market are going to be made. But you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to actually pan out that way. Like once we actually get the console in our hands. Um, all right, so give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm gonna bring this up. Hold on. Okay. And boss, it's time to hang out over here. All right. So before we dive into it, guys, I do again just want to thank you for watching. I want to ask you to please take a moment if you haven't already and hit that like button. Okay. We're sitting at 50 likes. Thank you for that. Let's see if we can get a big push to get to 100 likes. It definitely helps the channel. It helps the streams. And it just helps push these streams out into the algorithm to get new people on board and people who aren't even aware that this channel exists or that this community exists. Bring them on in, see if they like it. And I think that's how a lot of you have found the streams in the past. So hit that like button. Maybe Michael Wernick will show up. Who knows? And try to really incentivize you guys. But yeah, we will get into this. And if you want to support the channel and the content, we are completely fan funded. Thank you to everybody who shows support. If you are a channel member, thank you. Consider becoming a channel member if you're not one. We'll be doing some members lounges this week. We'll definitely be doing some members content. Consider dropping member gifts. We have a goal of 25. If we hit 25, we'll feed the beast. If we hit 50, I'll do some reps at the end of the stream. Guys, gonna try to keep me in shape, I guess. Consider dropping a super chat or a direct donation. These are all ways in which you can support the channel, support this community, and allow me to continue to do what I do here. And believe me when I tell you, this past week, the support that has been shown, I just want to put a small emphasis on when I tell you that is the difference maker, I mean it. So thank you sincerely to everybody who supports. And that's true, Spartan. I do owe you reps, actually. Yes. Spartan's keeping me honest here. He's like, you ain't getting away this time. Yeah, I'll be sure. No matter how today goes, I'll be sure to do some reps at the end because that's true. You did drop a 50 on that last stream. And for understandable reasons, I didn't do the reps that day. So I do owe you. And we have a super chat from Piper. He says, hey, bro, I want to apologize for my question. I wasn't given the opportunity to explain what I was saying before you kicked me out. It's all good, dude. It's all good, Piper. No worries whatsoever. We've moved on. I think everybody here's, we're all in agreement. We've moved on. We're talking about gaming. I just, I put a post out on my channel just re-emphasizing to everybody that we are a gaming channel first and foremost. I'm human. You're human. Well, I assume most of you are human, right? Unless there's some AI bots in here or something. So no need to apologize. No need. Don't even worry about it, bro. I'm just glad you're here, and we're here to talk gaming. Should be a good time. So please enjoy. Enjoy the stream. That is my goal. I want people to enjoy the stream today, okay? Uh-oh, JMR says he's not human. Mr. B's concerning me as well. And then angry whale watchers saying, maybe, dude, you see that stuff with this Atlas 3i situation? I'm like, what is going on, dude? What is, like, even out in the universe, things are getting crazy where it's like, bro, they just found life on Mars and there's like this extraterrestrial comet or something. Or something. Nobody knows what exactly is going on. And I'm just like, I can't deal with all this, man. Cerny, save us with the PS6. Cerny, save us. All right. I don't know if okay, yeah, so I have that. For a second, I thought the voice was playing. GC Edit says, hey, dude, haven't been here for some time. Congrats on 100K. Well, thank you for that. I wasn't able to watch the last stream, so I missed the whole Sucker Punch thing. Love you, and thank you for what you do. Yeah, I mean, this is all I'll say, because of course, I anticipate I'm going to get a couple questions, and it would be unfair to just blatantly ignore them. And since you're saying you missed the stream, and hopefully anybody in the chat can inform anybody else that may come in, because I know I try to understand that not everybody can catch all the streams. I stream a lot. I do long streams, and a lot can be missed, and people can be a little bit out of the loop. So here's what I'll say. If you watch that stream, if you were to go back and watch that stream, basically the statement that was made is something needs to be done in some regard. and something was done. And so for me, that's a closed book at this point. Also because again, many people for sure got the wrong impression, which is understandable. And things started to get a little overly chaotic. And so, in an effort to reel things back in, make sure we don't float too far out there and people don't get the misunderstanding of what this channel is and what its focus is. Um, what I will say is that it's a closed book at this point in time. The stream's still out there. You can still watch it if you want, but there have been updates since, and that's pretty much all I was asking for. Um, oh, did they, Irfan? Really? I didn't know that. Well, that's all I'm going to say about it. I just want to make that clear. You don't have to worry. The stream is not going to be turning into anything else. This is going to be a purely gaming hardware feature focused stream. Okay. But because, again, GC edit with a super chat, I know there's going to be some questions. So don't worry about it. And Irfan, yeah, the only thing I'm going to ask you too is, oh, okay. All right, that's great. Thank you for letting me know, Irfan. Yeah, I'll keep tabs on that. I'll keep tabs on that, and okay. All right, good. Good. So that is the official confirmation there. All right. Yeah, and 0 Point, I understand, and that's fine. But I just want you to understand that not everybody who subscribed to the channel wants the focus to just be on one thing, like one specific topic. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, no worries. But with that being said, we are going to dive into the first topic, and we actually have William Aguilar. He asked me if I could take a look at his analysis of the overview, and it is an extensive one here. So, William, right up front, I cannot promise that I will be able to read through this whole thing, but I guess we'll just see how it goes. But he seemingly, from what I can tell here, has done it's a comprehensive, pretty comprehensive analysis of what we can expect from PlayStation moving forward. And, considering how many crazy things that have occurred with not just PlayStation, but the gaming industry in the last 3, 4, or 5 years. I mean, people now more than ever want to know, like, what is Sony's strategy? What is the strategy for PlayStation? And Michael Lynch with a super chat says, what was done by the developer? I didn't hear anything. Or do you mean to the developer? I don't know if I'm reading your super chat correctly, Michael, but if you're wondering what the update is, the person that caused seemingly like the big hoopla, if you want to call it that, was fired and no longer works at Sucker Punch. So for those wondering, that is the update. But let's see. Oh, hold on, William. I almost. So, okay. An in-depth analysis and highlights from Sony's 2025 corporate report with a focus on the gaming and network services segment, aka SIE and PlayStation. So Sony's overall company focus is what they call Condo, which means to fill the world with emotion through the power of creativity and technology, create infinite realities, achieving 3 future goals via 3 key approaches, seamlessly connecting multi-layer worlds where physical and virtual realities overlap. So that's just Sony's general, focus as an entire company. Almost like their philosophy, I guess you could say. But the Games and Networks Services, SIE, and PlayStation focus to be the best place to play. Quote, PlayStation remains the best place to play with innovative products and premium services that create a lifetime of value and engagement for players and creators globally. End quote. Strategic investment that leverages our active users and high level of user engagement. Quote, platform business and studio business collaborate closely to ensure players are consistently delighted by PlayStation's diverse library of content and services and moved by PlayStation's world class storytelling and their own limitless imagination. With the legacy of commitment, SIE remains focused on players and creators with investments in expansive content and advanced hardware, upholding excellence in premium services and PlayStation's evocative stories, end quote. It continues by saying expansion of our user base through highly narrative driven single player video games and live service video games. Quote, PlayStation Studios' global network of creative teams has built world class franchises and beloved characters to connect with and delight players in games and other media on console and beyond. SIE continues to define excellence in interactive storytelling and franchise building. PlayStation's IP remains best in class for single player games, while diversifying into live services and growing beloved franchises beyond console, and finally expanding to a multi-device ecosystem but remaining console-centric. SIE's focus on customization and innovation in consoles and peripherals elevates gamers' experiences with personalized and adaptive features. SIE plans to continue strengthening PlayStation by investing in captivating content, unique service offerings, and exceptional technological innovations while leveraging its vast gaming expertise to deliver an unparalleled PlayStation console experience. Our strategic emphasis indicators include the number of PS5 console hardware units sold, PlayStation's monthly active users or MAUs, and total gameplay hours. End quote. So I know that was like a lot at one time, but to me um there are two things here that I do feel as though, considering all of the chaos that you see out there, all the chaos that you see, um, when it comes to, at least in the gaming sphere, people making their assumptions about PlayStation. And yes, Mr. B, this is official from Sony, what we just read. Now I'm reading Williams' compilation of it, and I'm assuming at the end he gives more of an analysis, but I'm reading Williams' compilation of it. Um, but yes, the quotes are coming directly from Sony. This is again from their 2025 corporate report. So this is what's going directly out to investors, and there's a lot of confusion and uncertainty when it comes to PlayStation's overall strategy. A lot of people, myself included at times, have been a little bit confused as to like what is Sony's overall direction here? What are they placing the most importance on? What is the priority versus what isn't? What is changing? What is shifting? And we are getting it clear cut from Sony. These are the two things I wanted to highlight. And I'm going to continue to read this, but they mention PlayStation's IP remains best in class for single player games, while diversifying into live service and growing their beloved franchises beyond the console. So they're just flat out telling you the three pillars: single player story driven games, live service games, and expansion of that IP, regardless of whether it's single player or live service. And then they also say here, our strategic emphasis indicators, translation, the things that are most important to us to determine our success and our future growth. Number of PS5 console hardware units sold. So, in other words, console sales, monthly active users, MAUs, and total gameplay hours. The fact that they lead with PS5 console sales is important. Okay. I want to once again emphasize that this is the corporate report going out to all investors. Investors are going to be reading this top to bottom and hanging on to every single thing Sony says because they're investors. And so they can't lie about, what's important and what their strategy is and what they're going to do. We have GC Edit. He says, have you seen the list of best-selling games by dollars and units? I see why Sony did not want Call of Duty being owned by Microsoft. Yes, we actually did cover that. extensively GC edit in not the last stream, but I believe the one prior to that. So like 2 streams ago, I actually covered that entire list, and it was quite shocking to see just how much Call of Duty was on there. It was crazy. And yeah, I mentioned that as well, that when you see how important Call of Duty is to the PlayStation ecosystem, when Phil Spencer called Jim Ryan and said, "We want to give you a 3-year deal," you could see how Jim Ryan was like, "Excuse me? Like, no way." Right? Because I think some people forget that it started with a 3-year deal. But it's all good, GC Edit. Yeah, it's all good, bro. Um, I think that is time stamped as well. So like when you're done with this stream, if you still want to watch more content, you can go check that one out and hear my thoughts on that entire list. I was quite shocked that Guitar Hero was on there somewhere as well. Jim lost his mind, bro. Jim fell out of his chair. Jim had to drink some extra wine that night. And William Aguilar says, I also recommend Nishino's quote, it's after Totoki's. Yeah, I'll read that, William. No problem. I did miss the quotes, so thank you for compiling that. I actually was not aware that there were direct quotes. So good stuff there, William. And yeah, guys, as we continue, make sure you hit that like button. We're already at 78 likes, so we are very close, actually. Very close to being able to hit that 100 like mark. And we have Prince G, a member for 18 months. Thank you for that support, buddy. He says, I'm very pleased with Nishino-san's and Sony's vision for PlayStation. That's why I've always bet on PS4, my memorable gaming experiences. Well, see, that's what's interesting, Prince, is like a lot of people talk about how they're not on board with some of Sony's strategy, overall strategy, and some of the decisions they're making. But if there's one thing that I think is undeniable when we go over this corporate report is that it should answer everybody's questions. The only question it doesn't answer is whether or not they're doing a showcase. But outside of that, they do make it very clear. They do make it very clear that, this is what we're focused on. Of course, they're not going to sit here and talk about what they're anticipating for the year 2029. It's not going to be like that, but yeah, Prince, thank you for being a member for so long, man. So continuing with Williams' report here, or his compilation, says on investments and acquisitions. Hold on one second. Yeah, on investments and acquisitions, evaluating past investments. Quote, in recent years, Sony has been making a major shift in its business direction towards entertainment while aggressively making strategic investments for further growth, targeting content IP fields that contribute to IP value enhancement and creation technologies, end quote. Assessing possible future investments, quote, we will continue to explore attractive investment opportunities in a disciplined manner while further promoting integration with existing businesses to realize returns on past investments, end quote. So that second part of that quote, that's Bungie. That's absolutely Bungie they're referring to there. Dark Cloud, a member for 12 months. Thank you for that support, buddy. He says, this is the place to be. Morning in, morning out. MBG, you rock. Thank you so much for that, Dark Cloud. That's very kind of you, bro. Really appreciate the support, guys. Means a lot. But yeah, that second part there, I mean, the first part is interesting too, to a degree, where we will continue to explore attractive investment opportunities. That's Sony saying that they are still open to acquisitions, but they say in a disciplined manner. I think that's a key word, disciplined, because I think some people feel as though, I mean, I don't know how the investors feel, but given the whole Bungie situation, it does feel like maybe there was a slight lack of discipline when Sony kind of went on their spending spree back in 2021 and 22. But yeah, nothing too crazy here. Moving on from that, it says a message from the new CEO of Sony. So this is Hiroki Totoki, and he's speaking on the age of Totokism. Let me see. He says, quote, I assumed the role of president and CEO in April 2025, and with our approximately 110,000 employees, I accept the challenge of further evolving and growing Sony. I will do my utmost to continue to increase Sony's value, which was enhanced by my predecessor, uh, Kazuharai. I don't know that I think I said that wrong. And Kenichiro Yoshida, and to leave an even better Sony to the next generation. As a new management structure, we appointed business CEOs who are the chief executive officers of our major businesses and chief officers who are our CSO, CDO, CPO, and CFO in charge of various functions at the group headquarters. As I look back and see how we managed Sony with Kondo and our purpose as our core, I see how over the past few years we have made strategic investments in such things as content, music catalogs, and anime, and focused on growing our various businesses and extending the reach of our IP across our business segments. We've also developed and applied innovative technologies to support creators. These initiatives have led to a transformation of Sony whereby our three entertainment businesses have steadily grown, now accounting for over 60% of consolidated Sony Group sales in fiscal year 2024. I can also see that this transformation of our business portfolio has not only supported our recent strong financial performance, evidenced by our record breaking profit, but also has helped to build a business foundation that is highly resilient even during economic downturns. In May 2024, Sony introduced the long term creative entertainment vision to illustrate that Sony wants to become what Sony wants to become over the next 10 years by presenting our worldview as a creative entertainment company with a solid foundation of technology as well as a clear timeline for pursuing that vision. We hope to inspire employees, partners, and creators to help us create a bright future together. Again, that was the entire quote from Sony's current CEO, Hiroki Totoki, who did just take over very recently in April. And the general takeaway, I think, from that, like the broad takeaway, is that um, we are seeing Sony make it clear to their investors that they are transitioning to becoming more of an entertainment company and less so of an electronics first company. I mean, that's what Sony has been for decades. That's really what got them to where they are, being an electronics company. But obviously, a lot has changed, and Sony as a whole has changed in many ways. And so, when you imagine them embracing this and pushing to become more of an entertainment company, you begin to understand just how important the PlayStation division becomes. Not to say that it wasn't important previously, it was absolutely critical to them, but now it's like it's never been more important. So everything they're doing in gaming is like I don't know if it's a stretch to say this, but it seems to me that like PlayStation and the gaming division is maybe the single most important division under Sony. Maybe that is a bit of a stretch, but there's no denying how critical it is. Jake, thank you for that. Yeah, I saw that and I appreciate it, bud. We're probably going to save that for tomorrow's discussion because I do want to talk about that. I'm very interested in the Naughty Dog topics, especially one regarding The Last of Us. That definitely piques my interest, but we'll save that for tomorrow. So be sure to tune in, Jake. And continuing along here, we have another quote, this time from Hideaki Nishino. Oh, wait, hold on. I don't know. Yes, this is from Hideaki Nishino. Sorry. So again, Hideaki Nishino is the head of all of SIE and in charge of every decision ultimately that PlayStation makes. He's more directly involved with PlayStation than, say, Hiroki Totoki would be. Um, so he says, quote, while we cannot share further details at this stage, the future of the platform is top of mind. We are committed to exploring new and enhanced ways for players to engage with our content and services, referring to the upcoming PS6 console in a few years. Home game consoles will definitely be the core of our business, and we understand that no one will buy hardware without high quality exclusive content. So it's all thanks to that content. People often buy PlayStation not just because of the game console, but because of the games that they want to play. So it's important that high quality content is available. We are bringing our tentpole games to PC, at least for 1 year after. after the release on PlayStation consoles to increase our share of the overall game market. But there's no doubt that consoles will be at the core of our business. We are currently committed to our strategy, and there isn't an urgent need to pivot. PCs are often difficult to set up, but with PlayStation, once you turn it on, you can experience the content you bought straight away. PlayStation Console is a technology stack that we develop from the bottom up, so we can provide very good, excellent experience. The value of buying console will continue to remain, and our mission is to continue polishing that. End quote. That's from Hideaki Nishino. And finally, here, this will be the last section of what William wrote up here. This year's corporate report from Sony is insightful and well made by elevating Hideaki Nishino, the former head of console technology platform business, to be the new CEO of SIE/PlayStation. It reduces concerns many people had about the future of PlayStation, especially regarding the console side of the business. While official information about the upcoming PS6 will not be available for a few more years, it is relieving to know that the future of the company is in good hands. Sony has made a lot of bids for investments and acquisitions in the last several years, and I expect that to continue. While I must preface that this is merely my own speculation, I would not be surprised if Sony puts in a bid in an attempt to acquire Warner Bros. After it splits. There will likely be multiple companies interested in acquiring WB due to its vast array of high-quality IP, but Sony in particular has stated multiple times over the years that they are constantly searching for new valuable IP. If Sony were to make and win the potential bid, it would benefit both their movie and video games segments because WB not only owns a vast array of top-tier IP, but it also owns several talented AAA video game studios. That being said, this is my own speculation, and it's entirely possible that Sony may not make such a risky bid, especially with so many other companies that are likely to be eyeing it. And before I finish it off here, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned WB because I kind of forgot that apparently they are still looking to sell. And yeah, I saw that Paramount is now aggressively pursuing WB. And so the part about other companies being interested and it becoming like a bidding war, um, seems like that's what would happen essentially if Sony wanted to now pursue that. But I've talked extensively about how if Sony were to make a large acquisition um, from somebody who's looking to sell, I think WB absolutely would make the most sense. I agree with what William's saying here. Finally, he says, I am very interested to see what direction Hiroki Totoki will take as the new CEO of the company. He was a prudent and financially responsible CFO, and he had some time leading as the interim chairman of SIE after Jim Ryan retired. It will be interesting to see how he balances the technology and creative sides of the company. I'm most interested to see how his leadership will be felt in relation to the upcoming PS6 generation and how well he works with Nishino in that area. I speculate that he will allow Nishino and Holst to make expensive creative decisions, but he will expect tangible ROI or return on investment in exchange. If the expensive investments and creative decisions do not pan out well, I speculate that Totoki will become more hands-on. PlayStation's income and MAUs continue to rise, which is good news to potential investors. There are several great games on the horizon from PlayStation, including this year's tentpole titles, Ghost of Yotei. I'm extremely excited for them to announce and provide updates on the rest of the games they have cooking at future presentations, aka where's that PlayStation Showcase, Sony? The state of PlayStation is bright. So, William, thank you for that, buddy. That was actually a really, really well done. I like that. That was a good compilation of not only just your thoughts on it, but pointing out some of the important quotes and some of the important aspects from this corporate report. And yeah, man, my major takeaway from this is that Sony is well positioned. I think that's clear. That should be clear to everybody. I also think that this does seem to put somewhat of a greater emphasis on the console side of things, where I think maybe Sony is somewhat privy to the circulating perception or the conversations that I think some people believe that the console has now taken a back seat. And that always confused me, even though I would entertain the idea of why they would potentially do that. But it always confused me at the end of the day because all of the success that Sony has found in gaming is literally through the console. literally, not because I want to believe that, but because it's like in order to gain access to the PlayStation Store, you have to own a PlayStation console. So I always thought it was strange that there was kind of this notion being pushed that the console would become less important or take a back seat. I think that Sony is in this pretty clear clear cut position. Oh my God, boss, why do you have to be like this? They're in this pretty clear cut position where they they're going to continue down the path that they've been going down, which is, you know, focusing on the console, prioritizing that. Prioritizing the console, focusing on that, but simultaneously understanding that, you know, the the idea that they would turn to investors and say, we are expecting with the PlayStation 6 and eventually the PlayStation 7 that we're going to be able to go beyond 150 million consoles sold, beyond 180 million, that there's just immense growth to be found. The reality is there probably isn't. But that doesn't mean that what they've achieved so far isn't absolutely critical to the success of the PlayStation brand. Um, so yeah, that was a good write up. Um, there were a few other things, or at least one other thing I wanted to mention here. So in this business report, we've been talking about Wolverine. We've been talking about how it seems pretty clear we're going to be seeing this game sooner rather than later. We could even see it fully revealed before the end of this month. We know that there's a show coming. In this corporate report under the games and network services segment, they list their games that they released in fiscal year format. So fiscal year 2021, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7. Fiscal year 2022, God of War Ragnarok. Fiscal year 2023, Spider-Man 2. Fiscal year 2024, Astrobot. Fiscal year 2025, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2. Fiscal year 2026, they have Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, and Wolverine listed. So for those wondering when does fiscal year 2026 run from, fiscal year 2026, well, we're still in fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2026, I believe, begins April 1st, 2026 and ends April 1st, 2027. Sometimes I get a little confused with that. So Barlog's game is not coming anytime soon. Well, it could, but it's clear that they're not going to put that right there on a slide, in a picture in their document. But I would imagine there is more than just Intergalactic and Wolverine. But like, for example, we know Saros, right? Saros was announced, but yet that's still not on there. Saros has been confirmed to be a 2026 game, but it's not on there. So I think it's Sony just really trying to highlight their tentpole games, or the games that they consider tentpole. But the reason why I think this is important is because fiscal year 2026 is between April 1st, 26 and April 1st, 27. So in that time frame, yeah, it does seem like they're pretty much communicating that as it stands right now, if there aren't any delays, both Intergalactic and Wolverine will launch before April 1st, 2027. And yeah, I mean, that to me sounds like a realistic expectation. Frankly, I am expecting Wolverine to come next year. And I think Intergalactic could be an early 2027 game, like a March 2027 game. I could see that. But Wolverine is what I'm really focused on right now, because we're hearing that we're going to be getting a new trailer for that. And Saros could be coming this fiscal year, actually. If Saros comes out in January, February, or March of 2026, then that would still be fiscal year 2025 for Sony. So that could be another reason why it's not listed there. Yeah, I mean, I could actually see it playing out just like that. Saros, February, March drop, and then Wolverine holiday 2026. And I think there will be other things, to be clear. I don't think that those are literally the only games that Sony's going to have. But we know that a show is coming. And, you know, they usually put out stuff like this right before they put on some type of show. Boss, dude. All right. Like I said, guys, if you want to support the channel, consider dropping some member gifts or becoming a member. Hey, don't start biting. He's getting really rambunctious. He's starting to bite wires now. When do I think Sony's show will be? You reckon the 23rd, 24th, or 30th? The 30th would be awesome because, like I said, that'd be my birthday. But the 23rd or 24th sounds very plausible. Yeah, sounds very plausible. The real question is if they want to do it before or after Tokyo Game Show. Boss, bro, you serious? Stop it. Stop. His desperation, I'm telling you. Hanzo says, yeah, make me a member. Garrett, yeah, I did acknowledge that. It's just a slippery slope because a lot of people, I think, heard what they wanted to hear, unfortunately. I think a lot of people didn't understand what I was requesting, you know? And what I was requesting was taken care of. So a deal's a deal, right? I don't want to be that level of hypocrite where it's like, hey, man, I know I said if you did this thing, I'd do this, but I ain't doing it. I can't do that. That's messed up. I appreciate that, Garrett. I want to get it. It'll be my first Dying Light game. Do I need to play the first two before the new one? Also, I read it's not getting a physical release. Yeah, what is going on with Dying Light, the Beast, not getting a physical release, dude? That is really strange to me. That's really strange. Check out the God of War movie / show actors it leaked on Reddit. Oh. Oh, you know what? I think I saw that. But I didn't actually click on it. Oh man, who are they gonna get to play Kratos, bro? I'm assuming that's what it's for, the list of actors to play Kratos. That's what I remember seeing. There's also apparently new leaked details on Marathon. Hold on, we're going to go on a little side quest here. I can't find it, though. Oh, here we go. Actors who are in the running for God of War's Kratos, according to film / TV insider John Campea. Winston Duke. Joe Manganiello. I don't know how to say his name correctly. Boss. All right. I'm giving Boss in advance. This is assuming we're going to hit 25. I'm only giving him a couple because he's really starting to bother me. Christopher Judge is on this list. Manu Bennett, Jason Momoa, Travis Fimmel, Oliver Richards, and Dave Bautista. Apparently, this is the short list of actors that are in the running to play Kratos. Christopher Judge, dude, bro, how can Christopher Judge be on this list and then not just get the role? You get what I'm saying? Like, how could he be on this list? Yeah, no Tom Holland. Sad face. Judge barely walks. Oh, is he? Oh, you know what? Yeah, I remember hearing that he has some back issues, I think, and maybe that could be. Maybe this role is too. The physicality of it is too much. Hmm. Well, he get the voice down for sure, And he has, I think he's tall too, right? He's really tall. Me as Kratos? No way, dude. No chance. I mean, Batista would be interesting. He's really proven himself as a good actor. You know who I don't want to see as Kratos though? I don't I don't I don't think I want to see Jason Momoa as Kratos. I see you, a lot of you guys saying you would want to see Jason Momoa. You think he would crush it. I don't know. I don't think I could. What about The Rock? I couldn't do it. No. I could not see The Rock as Kratos, bro. I would just see The Rock cosplaying as Kratos. Bella Ramsey as Kratos. I don't know, man. I don't know. Jason Momoa as Kratos and Tom Holland as Atreus. Does he have the acting chops? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are some actors on here that I'm not actually familiar with. So maybe one of these actors whose names I don't recognize would be perfect. But apparently that is if it, again, this is rumor territory. So if that list is to be believed, one of those actors is apparently going to get the role. Yeah, it's an interesting list. Travis Fimmel. I feel like that name sounds familiar. Travis Fimmel? That name is familiar. Jenna Ortega as Kratos. Oh man. Here we go with all the here's a check them out on Google. Hold on one sec. Sorry, my chat is way behind and slowly updating. There we go. Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew that name sounded familiar. Oh, I don't know. Could we see him as Kratos? Dave Bautista as Odin. Goldberg for Kratos. Cerny for Sindri, bro. Why does that work? Why does that work, bro? Mark Cerny as Sindri. No way, man. I could see it. I could absolutely see it. Andrew Lincoln is Kratos, so I don't think so. I like Andrew Lincoln, but no. Rick Grimes is Kratos, bro. Brad Pitt is Atreus. Braddock. No. Peter Dinklage could do Brock. He could probably actually play a good Brock, yeah. He's got that demeanor. Oliver Richards. He plays in Reacher. Is that who that is? Dude, Jack Black as Brock. I will literally, dude, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not, bro. Oh my God. If Jack Black is anywhere near this film or this series, I'm out. I'm just straight up out. Who could Nick Cage play? Nick Cage could do Sindri. John Cena as Kratos. Now that's cursed, bro. Dude, John Cena as Kratos. I would actually like to see that. Chaos Theory, you're saying Steve Buscemi as Mimir. Maybe. You know what's interesting is that this leak is apparently just for Kratos. So I wonder what the other lists look like. And apparently it says here John Campea, who has been reliable in the past with leaks for Spider-Man No Way Home and when Keanu Reeves was casted as Shadow. So it seems like he does have some credibility here. Christopher Walken as Kratos. Boy. Christopher Walken's old, man. Christopher Walken, bro. Well, I guess we'll find out. It's, we did hear that apparently they're getting ready to film this in, I think, early 2026. So it's coming up. And man, I'm nervous. Yeah, in Vancouver, that's where they're planning on filming it. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I really am. Like, I want it to be good. I feel like The Last of Us HBO season 2 is kind of a reality check of like, here's how things can go sideways and not really work out. It I don't want to see that happen for God of War, I don't want to see that because I feel like, man, God of War 2018, God of War Ragnarok, they're done so well. They're such incredible games and such incredible stories, and the performances are top notch. So, do I plan on seeing The Long Walk? Saw it last night. It's great, but very bleak. It makes you feel extremely uncomfortable. I saw a trailer for that. I don't have any plans on seeing it, but the trailer did look really intense. MEG with Odin, if they don't bring back Richard Schiff, that would be a crime. Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, like they might or they should because they're considering Christopher Judge for, for the role of Kratos in the show. Bautista, you keep saying Bautista as Odin. Apparently, the Ghost of Tsushima movie is still in development. Apparently, it's still a thing. There was like a rapid fire questions thing with the director of the game, and he was asked about that, and he said, "Yeah, it's still happening." See, the Ghost of Tsushima movie is going to be interesting because it's pretty clear that Sucker Punch moved on from Tsushima, but then like we're going to get a movie a couple years down the line, presumably, where it's like we're kind of, we're bringing it back now. Yeah, you know what? PS6 remaster. There you go. Ghost of Tsushima PS6 remaster launching along. You know what? That's absolutely what they're going to do. Launching right alongside the Ghost of Tsushima movie. What's exciting about the Ghost of Tsushima movie is the director attached to it. It's Chad Stahelski. He did the John Wick movies. So we have AZN Panda with a $5 super chat saying, "Hey, BG, it's been a while and had to show my support. I'm sad we're not going to get a real Ghost of Tsushima 2. We need a new CEO that focuses on male gamers." Perhaps. I don't know. I don't know that it's so much about a male or female thing, AZN Panda, as much as it's just about, again, not going in that direction, but I think at the end of the day, what people want are good games made by decent people. Doesn't matter, I think, really much beyond that. And that's what I want, That's what I want. The actor who played Jin Sakai should be the actor. Well, that's what I was going to mention that. Is that, dude, the actor, I forget his name, but the actor who played Jin in Ghost of Tsushima, they used his likeness just like they are the actress who's playing Atsu. And I think we heard that like he's not going to be in the running to play Jin in the movie. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? Why not though? And I think he's younger too. So I don't think it's like an age thing or something. But AZN Panda, thank you for the super chat, man. I do appreciate the support. Who knows? Maybe one day we still will get a continuation of Jin. You never know. You never know. Never say never. Daisuke Suji? Is that how you say his name? Hello, Luna. Now Luna's in here looking for treats. Not all the names in that list for Kratos are legit. John Campea said that those names are his personal picks. I recommend you watch the video. Oh, really, Irfan? Yeah, I don't follow John Campea. If that's true, then that kind of ruins the list. No offense to, well, I mean, if he stated that's what, some of these are what he would want to see, then I have to wonder, because I was under the impression, that the 10 names we just went over are like, that is the list that they're choosing from. Yeah, Digital Dude, we're going to talk about that in tomorrow's show. I'm going to have a whole topic dedicated to that. Going to have a whole topic dedicated to that one. But Irfan, thank you for informing me of that. I didn't realize. All right. You guys have a rare Luna appearance. She's just chilling up there. She doesn't usually do that. And GC Edit with another super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, hey, I got to go, but thanks for the streams. They calm me down quite a lot, especially since tomorrow's my first day studying architecture. Well, good luck with that, GC Edit. I hope it goes well for you, buddy. And thank you for hanging out. And thank you for dropping a couple of super chats as support while you were tuning in. So good stuff, man. And good luck tomorrow. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, David. I was thinking the same thing. Just make sure you tune in tomorrow for that topic, because we're going to talk about the PlayStation 6 leaked specifications. Yeah, I don't know about that one, Digital Dude. That seems a little... And AZN Panda with another chaotic $5 super chat, I can already tell. He says, I mean games that male gamers will buy. Stop making every female ugly, no woke shit, and this for my subscription. I hate trying to sub on the phone. Well, thank you for that, AZN Panda. Yeah, I'm just trying to be careful how I broach the topic or your super chat, AZN Panda, because if there's one thing that has become abundantly clear in the last 48 hours is that there's a lot of people who are not able to have rational conversations in this regard. And I'll just stick with what I said. And that is, I just want good people, decent people making good games. That's it. That's what I want. I know it's very simple, very basic, too basic, but who could say no to that, The stream calls for calm. I should make that a soundbite. Are you a calm and reasonable man? If the moment calls for calm. Or however he says it. But I do appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you for that. We need to talk about the leaked PlayStation 6 specifications, okay? Because now we have the whole thing. We have the whole picture now. Let me bring it up here. So this comes from, once again, Moore's Law is dead. And I wonder if it's going to let me. I would try to bring it up on screen, but it's gonna be too small. It's gonna be too small. So hold on, let me and silent, bro. I walk away for 1 second. Silent. membership monster Spartan comes in, man. He's making me do double reps today. Double reps. He didn't have to do that for the reps, but he wants to see me double it up. Silent Spartan, bro, thank you so much. He just came in and dropped 50 membership gifts for you guys.
Holy shit.
Ready to see the W's flowing in the chat right now for Silent Spartan. He's been an absolutely massive supporter of the channel and community, and he's been doing great things for the channel. So, Spartan, man, thank you so much for that. Give you a crazy Arnold too. And now Luna can get her treats. She must have known. She must have known. And he says with the super chat that member number looks a little sad, so here's a gift for keeping it real and being a great source of info. Well, thank you for that, Spartan. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You never know. I mean, some days I have times where we just sit at 5 for the goal or 10 or something, and that's that. Sometimes it doesn't happen until the very end of the stream, but then sometimes we have situations like this where you want to come in and just show massive support for the community all on your own. So just like that, bro, we are now at 55 members. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. And I do want to remind everybody, if you get gifted a membership, we are going to be doing some members lounges later this week. We're going to have some more members content coming. You have access to all the previous members content. So if you're at all interested in that and seeing what the membership entails, feel free to go check on it. And yeah, and if you did get a free membership gift, make sure to thank Silent Spartan or whoever else is dropping member gifts to show support. Here we go, Luna. And Silent Spartan does more. Bro, Silent Spartan drops another 20 member gifts for you guys. Hellbound's like, W, bro. W's in the chat. Wow, that's Spartan, bro. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much for that. He just dropped 70 member gifts for you guys. Hot damn. Well, this is why we call him the membership monster. Thank you for that, man. Thank you so much. Spamming the Kratos emoji. And, oh yeah, I forgot I have that Wolverine emoji too. Good stuff, man. Shouldn't he have the platinum? Well, he just got it now, seemingly. I don't know. We'll see if somebody one-ups him. Sorry, boss is digging his claws into me. All right, let's feed the beasts, boss. Whoa. Okay. About to fight each other. All right. Hopefully that will satiate the beasts. And thank you again, Silent Spartan. That is some mega support right there, man. Where does that bring us to? That flat out brings us to 75 members on the day. So incredible work. Incredible work. And we'll cap it out at 100. We still got plenty of time. We'll see if we can end up hitting that 100 mark before the end of the stream. Really appreciate it, dude. Thank you. I don't mean to keep going on and on, but yeah, he's doing the heavy lift today. Silent Spartan doing the heavy lift for the community and the cats here. Boss, be patient. You can give Luna a turn. All right. Where were we? So I think we were going to talk about the PlayStation 6. Oh, and you know what? I did want to make a poll when we talk about this topic. I want you guys to make sure you vote on this because this is like a major talking point of the leaked PS6 specifications. All right. So I'm asking you guys to vote on how important ray tracing is to you. You can vote on very, somewhat, not at all, or what is ray tracing? Maybe some people don't actually know what ray tracing is. And the reason why I want to ask you guys to vote on this is because one of the big things we're learning with this PlayStation 6 leak is apparently um, Sony's going to be going all out with ray tracing with the PlayStation 6, as well as AMD with their next gen architecture. And this is where the major comparison is being drawn and the headlines are being written of a PlayStation 6 being compared to a GeForce RTX 5090. And so we'll go over why that comparison is being made and whether or not we should really focus on that aspect of these leaked specifications. So, only other thing I want to ask before we dive into the second main topic of discussion here is make sure you hit that like button, guys. Silent Spartan dropped those memberships without even asking you guys to hit the like button. Michael Warneth would have made you guys get that up to like 200 or something. So make sure you hit the like button, show some support, and help the community out, help the channel out. And AZN Panda with another $5 super chat says, you deserve it, dude. The 49ers game is on. Have a wonderful week for you and your family. FPS over ray tracing. Well, thank you for that, AZN Panda. Enjoy the football game, bro. Not really a 49ers fan, but you know, it is Sunday. It's football Sunday. So people gotta show their support, right? And you're saying FPS over ray tracing. Well, that's what's interesting is the specifications we're about to go over. It seems like the PS6 is going to be able to get pretty much every game easily to 60 FPS. And a lot of games are going to be hitting 120 FPS. MBG is a Cowgirls fan. Actually, I am the opposite of a Cowboys fan. I am not a Cowboys fan. I do not like the Cowboys. I'm an Eagles fan. So you can see why I just don't like them. I don't like them. Dreadful, you're a 49ers fan as well. By turning off ray tracing, you actually increase FPS. Ray tracing straight up makes every game look better. Well, that's what's interesting. It does seem like if you look at the launch of the PlayStation 5, there was a massive emphasis put on ray tracing. And Sony actually kind of had to react to the conversations around ray tracing. Because if you recall, we heard about the Xbox Series X before the PS5, and we learned the specifications of the Series X before the PS5. And one of the things that Microsoft emphasizes is that it will be capable of ray tracing. And this led to mass speculation and I think even just assumptions that the PS5 would not do ray tracing. And when Mark Cerny gave his second interview on the PlayStation 5, he was sure to emphasize that the PS5 will offer ray tracing. And it seems like there was kind of this big deal made where it basically was looking like ray tracing is going to be a major selling point of these next-gen consoles, and there could be a battle between Sony with the PS5 and Microsoft with the Series X of like who's going to have the better ray tracing. And I remember when they were showing off images of like Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank, again, all Insomniac titles, they were showing the ray tracing and people were like losing their minds over it. But as we went further into the generation, it seems like ray tracing became, frankly, just less and less significant and less important overall. And that's why I wanted to put this poll out and ask you guys, like, you know, sitting in September of 2025, nearly 5 years into the PS5 generation, how important is ray tracing you? Because when it comes to the PS6, it seems like Sony's going to go crazy with the ray tracing. There's actually like talk that they might even be able to offer path tracing in some of their games because of how you know, how intense it's going to be. So let's go over the rumored specifications. It says here, being reported by WCCF Tech, YouTuber Moore's Law is Dead has now posted the full leaked specifications of the upcoming PS6 console, and they're even stronger than those in the previous reports. Perhaps the single most impressive specification is the ray tracing. In August, Moore's Law is Dead mentioned a 5 to 10 times uplift from ray tracing performance compared to the base PS5 console. Now, though, he's expecting an even greater leap, looking to be between 6 and 12 times. So the article goes on to say here that the range here is obviously significant, but assuming that it actually is up to 12 times, it would place the PS6's ray tracing performance around the level of the current top-of-the-line graphics cards from NVIDIA, the GeForce RTX 5090, thus allowing even for real-time path tracing in PlayStation 6 games. Needless to say, it would be a huge surprise, both for console and for AMD. AMD is still trailing behind NVIDIA when it comes to ray tracing performance. Granted, there have been rumors from reliable leakers such as Kepler L2 that the next-gen AMD architecture will focus mostly on improving ray tracing and AI performance. In contrast, PlayStation 6 rasterization performance, which is like overall speed, wouldn't see nearly as much of a boost, according to Moore's Law is Dead, who estimates an improvement between 2.5 times and 3 times on the high end compared to the base PS5. So before we actually break down each spec here, um, this is a pretty significant gap here. So on the low end, it seems like minimum we're looking at a 6 times increase for ray tracing with the PlayStation 6. That's on the low end. On the high end, it's double at 12 times. And I think now, to be fair, I haven't watched this entire video for Moore's Law is Dead, but if my understanding is correct, and you guys can let me know if I'm wrong, if my understanding is correct, he's basically saying that if the PlayStation 6, if it's a big if, is able to output 12 times the ray tracing performance compared to the base PS5, then that would technically bring the ray tracing up to what is currently capable on the RTX 5090. Now, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of it. And that's a big if. We don't know, because if it's only 6 times, if it's only a 6 times increase in ray tracing, then that's not going to be anywhere near 5090. But generally speaking, when we go over the remainder of the PlayStation 6 specifications, yeah, the PlayStation 6 is not going to be in line with an RTX 5090. And I think, yeah, up to 12 times comparing it to a 5090, it does make for a good headline. There's no doubt about that. Comparing the next generation PlayStation 6 to the most premium high-end graphics card that's available, people are going to just see that and laugh at it, where it's like, bro, are you kidding me? And this thing's supposed to be affordable. But we are just talking about ray tracing. And I do wonder, because I think this is the first question a lot of people have for the PlayStation 6. Are there going to be developers that actually decide to make 30 FPS games? Like, will there be a developer that says, you know what, we're going to go for, we're going to target 30 FPS, essentially, but we're going to basically go for path tracing, and that's why it's going to be 30 FPS. I don't expect that. That would be kind of strange, but you do just have to wonder if Sony is able to offer this level of ray tracing to developers, to development teams, if they're actually going to take advantage of it. If it's actually going to matter, we have to ask ourselves that question too. Like, even if just because you're capable of doing 12 times the ray tracing, does that mean you should? Because is that what players want? Because a lot of people will say they want better FPS. Maybe this will just make it so that there could be a better balance overall, where it's like we can offer native 4K or what looks to be native 4K using PSSR at a smooth 60 FPS, maybe even goes up to 80 FPS with actually like really robust ray tracing. Maybe that is what we're looking at. And maybe a lot of people would be very happy with that. Saying that's where PSSR 2 comes in. Yeah. Yeah. Consoles will always have games target 30 FPS. Well, that's what's interesting, right? Is I think you're right. I think the answer to will developers have games running at 30 FPS, Sony has to be careful with this one because no matter what the PlayStation 6 ends up offering, and I'm getting a little bit behind here. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, actually, where I need to tell you guys what the specifications are. But before I do that, no matter what these specs are going to offer in terms of what devs can do, William says he wants 8K 60 FPS with ray tracing. I don't know if the PlayStation 6 will be able to offer that. Even that seems a little bit much. But no matter what the PS6 is capable of doing, you have to imagine that when Sony markets PlayStation 6 games, they're going to be marketed at 30 frames per second. Right? I feel like that's a given because that is the industry standard. The industry standard is when you're showing off your game, you're showing it off at 30 frames. You're showing it off in the fidelity mode so it can look as beautiful as possible, as visually pleasing as possible. I don't think that's going to change with the PS6. It could. They could make a mandate where it's like every game that's shown off on PS6 will be running at 60 frames. And maybe they'll be able to confirm that there's a fidelity mode, but again, if we're talking from a marketing perspective, they're going to want to show that fidelity mode. Just like they did with Ratchet and Clank, and every game, frankly, let's just face it, every game that Sony has showed this generation in terms of trailers and marketing are sitting at 30 frames per second in their trailers because they want to show off just how amazing the fidelity modes look. We have Makui Ninja, a member for 17 months. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, couldn't that comment also be interpreted that 120 hertz mode would run 6 times and fidelity 12 times ray tracing? That would make sense for next-gen modes. I guess there are a few different ways it could potentially be interpreted, right? Because, my major interpretation of this is like, if ray tracing uplift is that significant, but developers choose not to use it, then how much overhead does that leave? And what else could developers choose to use it for? And I think it kind of does go a little bit with what you're saying here, Makui Ninja, where it's like, yeah, you could see a lot. I think it really will come down to what players are kind of demanding, but you could see players basically demanding, like, we don't really want ray tracing cranked to the max. Like, that's not what we actually really want in our games. We want you to offer 120 FPS mode or 120 hertz mode at 4K. That could be what the result is. And maybe that could easily be achieved with many games. It seems like that will be possible with the PS6, where they will be able to offer a 4K 120 hertz mode relatively seamlessly or easily. But yeah, I just wonder if it's like, let's just say Bloodborne remake. I know I always talk about, there's no confirmation of a Bloodborne remake, but I talk about it. Bloodborne remake being shown off on the PlayStation 6, 30 FPS fidelity mode on the PS6 with path tracing. Does that sound possible? And if so, like, what if that is possible, like, how will gamers react to that? I don't know. I do have to go over the actual specifications, though. I've been kind of holding off on that. GPUs don't affect FPS nearly as much as the CPU would. The power of the CPU is going to determine how much FPS is going to be prioritized. That is true, Spartan. Yeah. And that's the thing. We are looking at a next generation CPU. And let me read this super chat from Aragon. He says, I love Tsushima and want to play Yotei if it's a good sequel. But now that the Sucker Punch devs have revealed themselves as political crazies, do you think I should worry that they've thoughtlessly girl bossified it? No, see, and like I said, I'm not going to be making this stream about that, but I want to respect the fact that you just dropped a super chat asking a question. I don't think so. Um, because listen, I want to say this, and I should have said this earlier, but maybe it's better I say it now since you super chatted about it. Many people have said to me, MBG, listen, man, these games are made up of teams. These games are made by teams of hundreds. And if you get any large group of individuals, there's bound to be a few bad apples. And if those few bad apples end up exposing themselves, you know, should it be assumed that every person is like that? Every person that's part of that group, part of that team. And basically, it's if they're not, should they be punished as if they were? And I've thought about this. And this is where I try to be a little bit less emotionally driven, where it's like, I know for a fact that there are good people at Sucker Punch. I know for a fact that there are good people across the industry, across all of these teams. I also know for a fact that the industry, does tend to lean in one direction. And so my answer to this question, Aragon, is simply if you're excited for the game and that's like you're afraid that they basically are going to have an insufferable character with a bad story and ultimately it'll be a game that leaves a bad taste in your mouth, I don't think that should stop you from buying Ghost of Yotei. Because look, I know I stood on my principle, right, the other day because of something I saw, but I was sure to say that prior to that moment, there's nothing I saw. Like, simply put, it looks like Sucker Punch cooked again. Simply put, that's what it looks like to me. If I knew nothing, if I was disconnected from the internet and disconnected from a lot of what's going on and you just showed me trailers and that's all I knew, I would say it looks like they cooked. It looks like that's going to be a great game. And I still stand by that. And so you have to determine for yourself, just like everybody does, where you stand on this situation. If you don't feel satisfied with the action that Sucker Punch took, and that leaves you feeling like, you know what, I'm still gonna pass, that's fine. And I'm not gonna pass judgment on that. Just as if somebody says, you know what, to me, they did the right thing. They took some kind of action. So that's what I needed to see. They have my support again. That's where I stand on the matter. But I guess I'm just trying to let you know, Aragon, that if you are afraid that the game's just going to be bad and like it's just going to come off as some kind of like, man, they threw gin in the garbage to make some kind of mediocre, you know, I don't want to, I can't tell you for sure. I haven't played it. I don't know the story of Ghost of Yotei, but everything I've seen so far looks very good. I haven't seen anything in terms of gameplay or any trailer that they've released that makes me go, oh, I'm concerned or I'm a little unsure about this one. I haven't seen that. The worst I've said so far is that when it comes to the story, it seems very simple. It's just a simple revenge story. And that could be all it is. And the worst that could end up happening is the story's not as good as Tsushima's. Or maybe there's some kind of little plot twist that makes it better in some way. But that's the only point that I would say is like, if you're comparing it to Tsushima, that I would be quote unquote worried about. But yeah, exactly. I don't take it that way. I know a lot of people take it that way. And again, man, this is just about trying where I can to draw lines of, to be as reasonable as I can because, I I will be honest with you guys. I was not prepared for the level of intensity. Now, granted, maybe I asked for it by doing a 5-hour stream, but I was not prepared. I was caught off guard for the level of intensity when it comes to some of the responses and the reactions that I got for the conversation we had. And it was unpleasant, mostly. But that's why I emphasize a big thanks to the support that I got from the people who understood what I was trying to say and where I was coming from. And, it is what it is. And like I said, we're going to continue to move on. And with another super chat, Aragon says, "Thank you for your thoughtful response to my question, MBG. I appreciate you." Well, thank you. I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate you just, being mostly respectful about it. You're not saying anything crazy or unhinged. You're just asking a question, and I appreciate that too. And if I will say one last thing here before we go back to the PlayStation 6 specifications, exactly, Hanzo. Holy shit, have I learned that? Exactly. Oh my God, dude. That right, if it could be summed up in just one sentence, it's that sentence. It's crazier than I ever imagined. It is frightening. I won't lie. It is frightening out there, man. But if I will say just one last thing, yeah, Makui Ninja, we are going to move on, but this is just more to my audience. This is just to me speaking to a lot of people who tune into my streams every day, people who have continued to support my content. I just want to say that I have stated in the past that there are good people here who I believe are here for the right reasons, and people who are here to just simply support me. Not for every little thing I do or every little thing I say, but just because they understand to a degree where I'm coming from. And they know me somewhat, You don't know every intricate detail of my life, but you know me to a degree because of how long we've been doing this. And I just want to say that that is something that has been tested, continues to be tested, and it holds strong. It holds strong, and that's important to me. And I just think it's important for me to convey that to you guys, that I very much appreciate it. So, thank you. All right. Well, 0 point, I think it's just because everybody who's here right now, I think, is under the understanding that we're just trying to move forward, where it's what's done is done. And we're just going to try to move forward, because I do fear, and I think many people fear, that if we don't move forward, we're going to get stuck in a void and a cycle that will never end. And that's all. That's all. And I just think a lot of people are feeling that right now. I've been feeling that. And I'll tell you what, I do not want to get stuck in that void, in that cycle. Because once you get stuck in a certain cycle, it can be nearly impossible to get out of. And yeah. And that's fine, 0 point. You don't have to. You don't have to. But we can all move on, right? And we will. We will. We're moving on. And Aragon, again, thank you for the super chats, man. I'm going to give you the full spec rundown of the PlayStation 6. And before I do that, make sure you continue to hit that like button, guys. We're about to hit 130 likes. I think we can do it. I want to see if we can get a big push to hit 150 likes. All right. 150 likes would be fantastic. 130 likes is great. But if we can hit that 150, that'll definitely help. All right. So, talking about the actual specifications of the PlayStation 6, and keep in mind that for those who wonder if Moore's Law is dead, if his leak regarding the specs of the PlayStation 6 is accurate and whether or not we should believe it, obviously always take everything with a grain of salt. But what I will inform you of is that this is the same person who leaked pretty much the entirety of the PlayStation 5 Pro prior to Sony announcing it, every spec, and Sony actually went after him for it. And apparently Moore's Law's Dead had to hire a lawyer and protect himself, or defend himself, I should say. So in case you were wondering, whoever his source is, wherever he gets his information regarding this, I don't really think it gets any more legitimate than that. When you have Sony going after you, you must have, you know, you must have really done something to get their attention. All right. So the specs are as follows. The PlayStation 6 APU is reportedly going to be a monolithic 280 millimeter die manufactured on TSMC's 3 nanometer process, leading to lower power consumption. It's estimated to be 160 watts. So that's actually going to be lower compared to the PS5 Pro, which will be good. That'll definitely, I think everybody can get on board with that. It continues, the CPU will be powered by 8 Zen 6 C cores, 7 of which will be fully enabled, while the other is for redundancy, and 2 Zen 6 low power cores dedicated to system tasks. While the GPU will be equipped with 54 RDNA 5 compute units, Moore's Law's Dead believes that 2 will likely end up being disabled, clocked between 2.6 and 3 gigahertz with 10 megabytes of L2 cache. The PS6 would therefore offer between 34 and 40 teraflops of overall compute power. For comparison, the PS5 and PS5 Pro are known to be 10.28 teraflops and 16.7 teraflops, respectively. And the PS4, the launch PS4, was only 1.84 teraflops. But the article emphasizes here that it should be noted that teraflops are a rather outdated way to estimate a system's, not power, but just, like real world performance. All right. Listen, hold on. I have to acknowledge the chat for a second here. Part of moving on is not acknowledging that we've continued to move on. All right, just everybody chill out. All right. Here, I got one for you. I'm going to ask the chat a clear-cut question. Meanwhile, Hanzo's talking about the road to PS6. Mark Cerny ASMR. I'm going to ask the chat a clear-cut question, and I want an answer to it. Based off of these leaked specifications of the PlayStation 6, will you buy the PlayStation 6? Are you excited to upgrade to the PlayStation 6? How do you feel about a potential 40 teraflop PlayStation 6? You want to talk T-flops? We're going back to 2020. As you're answering that question, make sure you vote on that poll, by the way, if you haven't yet, at the top of the chat. But finally, it says here, rounding up the rumored PlayStation 6 specifications, Moore's Law's Dead says the memory will feature a 160-bit bus with GDDR7 memory at 640 gigabytes per second bandwidth, supporting up to 40 gigabytes of RAM. Sony could choose either 30 gigabytes or 40 gigabytes of RAM, depending on the pricing. The report adds that manufacturing of the PS6 should start in the middle of 2027 and is scheduled for a fall 2027 launch window, which is a little earlier than maybe some people would have expected. It will be backwards compatible with PS4 and PS5 games, no mention of PS3. And he does mention in his leak, or in his video, I should say, Xbox Magnus, the code name for the APU that will power Microsoft's next-gen console. And he says it's going to be slightly... Now, this is what's interesting because it seems like it's changing a little bit. Apparently, it's going to be about 25% more powerful. And the reason why I think this is interesting and worth kind kind of focusing on for a second is that previous reports seem to indicate that the next generation Xbox console, Xbox Magnus, was going to be significantly more powerful than the PlayStation 6. But it's looking almost like it's going to be, frankly, it's looking like it might end up being a little bit more similar to what what we saw, I should say, with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, where on paper, what percentage was the Xbox Series X? Is like more fast, it's more powerful and a certain percentage faster. I can't remember. I remember it was some kind of percentage that people kept throwing out. It was like 30%, I think is what they said. 30%. Moore's Law is dead. He promised me Bloodborne remake years ago. Just like William promised me a showcase. Hanzo isn't forgetting, man. So yeah, does this mean they're both going to be very expensive? Bobby, that's interesting. That's very interesting. You're saying, I'm assuming you're talking about Jez Corden. He said that Magnus is a third-party console, not a first-party console. Can you refer to where he said that? Sorry about that. Yeah, refer me to where he stated that though, because that sounds. Yeah, if you're talking about Xbox Magnus, my understanding is that the Magnus console is going to be the Microsoft Xbox, like internally developed and manufactured Xbox console, and then there are going to be other consoles that are coming from Asus, Acer, Dell, Alienware, whoever basically wants to make one that will carry the Xbox logo but are not being manufactured by Microsoft. That's my understanding. Laz, you're saying on the Xbox 2 podcast? Yeah, I haven't seen anybody reporting on that. I don't know. I don't know that I believe that. That would be kind of crazy. That would be shocking. I would be genuinely surprised if Microsoft came out and was like we're not actually even manufacturing our own next generation device. I don't. That's something I would have to see it to believe it. My understanding is that they're going to make, like, the biggest difference I think between the PlayStation 6, the biggest difference between the PlayStation 6 console and Xbox Magnus, it's a simple difference, but it's also significant in that Xbox Magnus, foundationally speaking, seems like it's going to be a Windows PC. It will offer, I believe, what they're kind of referring to as a console shell, so it will plug and play easily. You know, if you want to put it in your living room and connect it to your TV, it won't really boot up like a normal Windows PC, but it is a Windows PC, like under the hood. That's what you're, like, a powerful Windows PC. But the console-esque shell should make it basically so you can navigate it as if it was a console. Almost like, I guess, what you would see now with, I've seen people talk about like Steam Big Picture mode, something like that. And so, you know, we're getting into like the semantics of it. Is like, well, then what is the difference between like a console versus a PC at that point? Like, is it really just a PC if it has a console shell? I just think people are leaning more towards a PC side of the conversation when it comes to the next Xbox, mainly because it seems like that's what Microsoft is doing. Like, they're emphasizing it being Windows based. They're emphasizing other storefronts, and they're kind of, I think, really trying to create this aura around it like it is more of a PC this time around. And I feel like with the PlayStation 6, everything we've heard about it so far is it's just what the PlayStation console has been for all 5 generations is what it will continue to be for the 6th generation of PlayStation console. And I guess that is the difference ultimately is Microsoft is basically what it boils down to is it just seems like Microsoft is like, we're done trying to court people into our storefront through Xbox hardware. Instead, we're just going to make the Xbox hardware, offer multiple storefronts, and you can choose our storefront if you want, but we don't care if you want to, if you want to choose Steam or GOG or whatever, it doesn't matter. And so, people then begin to naturally ask the question. They begin to ask the question, well, how are you going to make your money on your console then? Because for people who pay attention to this, the way it's always traditionally been done is you sell the hardware, usually at a little bit of a loss, and then you make your money back through the selling of software through your storefront, the selling of subscriptions and microtransactions, and everything is kind of filtered through that specific storefront to bring like double or triple the money back, and you make your return later on, or you make your profit later on. So the question is, if Microsoft's offering alternate storefronts like Steam and all this stuff, how are they going to make their money? And my answer to that simply is either A, they're not worried about making money on this hardware and they're kind of okay with the idea of losing money on it in the name of keeping the Xbox hardware alive, or B, they're just going to sell it at a really high price point and make their money up front. Where, listen, if we're going to be willing to sell you a console that offers Steam, for all we know, you're going to buy 100% of your games through Steam. And if you do that, we make probably no money if you're not buying our games on Steam. So we're just going to get some money from you up front by charging a premium price for the console. That could very well be what they choose to do. And I think that's another potential major separating factor between the next gen Xbox and what the PlayStation 6 will be, because the PlayStation 6, from everything we've heard with every leak and every rumor, Sony wants to make this a console that's going to penetrate the mass market. And they want it to be a console that's going to be relatively affordable. Doesn't mean it's going to be cheap, like $400 or even $500. I don't know that I'm expecting a $500 console. It seems unrealistic at this point. But it also means that they're not going to come out and be like, the PlayStation 6 is $800 or even $700. Because if they do that, it's like, how is a $700 console going to appeal to the mass market? But yeah, I don't know. I might have to go look into that. You're saying that this was claimed by Jez Corden. I can't verify this. I'll have to go check it myself if I get the time. You're saying this was claimed by Jez Corden on his last podcast episode. It's weird because I feel like if that was something he said, if that's really what he said, I feel like that would have been reported on, because that's a pretty big deal if that is true. But I'll have to look into it. I don't believe it. No offense, Bobby. I'm not saying you're lying or anything. I just think maybe there has to be some kind of misunderstanding. Spartan, you're saying they own so many studios that hardware probably isn't going to be a profit driver anyway. Yeah, like I could see Microsoft's grander ambition in gaming is clearly publishing focused. I could see them, in the name of not losing Game Pass subscribers and losing what's left of the Xbox player base, being willing to eat a little bit of money on their hardware, if need be. Because it's like, well, how many millions of units are we going to sell? Maybe 10, maybe 15 million. Okay. If we sell each unit at a loss, what does that number add up to? It's like something we can afford to eat. It's fine. As long as it keeps them subscribed to Game Pass, as long as it moves them over. But that's the thing. Everything we've heard about Magnus compared to the PlayStation 6 is that Magnus is going to be very powerful. This latest leak from Moore's Law is Dead is claiming it's going to be about 25% faster on paper. Now, that's the important thing. On paper, we've seen how this worked out before. And I'll be honest with you guys, like, the more leaks we get about these next generation consoles, the more it kind of does seem like it's going to it's going to be the rollout, I should say. I don't want to say the generation will be traditional because I don't think that'll be true at all, especially not for Xbox. But the rollout might be more traditional than we were thinking. Where I'm starting to think that, like, when we look at holiday 2027, it's going to look very, very similar to holiday 2020, where you're going to have the PS6 event, PS6 reveal, and a slate of games, and you're going to have the Xbox Magnus reveal, and there's going to be, I think, a lot of conversation of like, is it even a console? But like in reality, I think it's just going to be like it's going to be marketed like a console, so therefore it will be a console. And both of these pieces of hardware are going to launch holiday 2027, and it's going to be take your pick. I think it's going to be that again, except this time Sony's going to have a handheld apparently, and that could really throw a wrench in it. Not in a bad way, but just it could be good or it could be bad. But it'll be that will be, I think, the big thing that shakes everything up, even more so than Xbox Magnus being more powerful or more expensive or even more PC based. Chris, yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way, dude. You're saying you couldn't care less about these upcoming consoles. You like the gaming consoles that are out right now. Yeah, I really wonder how Sony's going to thread that needle because I'm telling you, I think that's a big reason. As I said before, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but in this conversation, it's hard not to. It's like, this is why I said that I really believe that the PlayStation 6 handheld. Oh, hold on one second. Laman, give me 1 second and I'll respond to that, okay? Let me just finish this thought. I got a direct donation from Laman. I was just going to say that I think that the PlayStation handheld is, I think that's Sony's kind of safeguard in a way, where it's like if the PlayStation 6 traditional home console doesn't excite people enough. When I see people are laughing, did something happen? Somebody said MBG glitched out. What? How did I glitch out? What happened? Are we good? Are we good? I just need some confirmation right now for my chat that everything's good. Ray says we're good. Oh, it's because I kept quiet for several seconds. Yeah, it's because I have the text to speech turned off and I still hear it. So I'm just sitting there like, you know? So it probably does look weird. Sorry about that. Dude, think about it. If you can play your physical games through a disc drive on the handheld, it'll destroy the Switch 2 and key cards. Yeah, I gotta like start blinking rapidly when I'm doing that. There's a reason why stealth, tactical espionage action is my favorite genre of game, you know? Anyway, but yeah, I think the PlayStation 6 handheld is meant to be a bit of a safeguard in that, like, if we can't get you excited with the traditional PlayStation 6 home console, because we know that at least half of the PlayStation 5 buyers or more won't care, we have something else for you that you might find interesting instead. And that's super fascinating to me, dude. Like, that to me is such a unexpected potential. I have to emphasize potential solution because it might not work. But I was always thinking to myself, like, what could Sony do? And I asked you guys this question over and over again, like, what could Sony do to get people who are just, they don't care about the PS6? Like, just sorry, bro, I don't care what it's offering. I don't care what it does. I just bought the PS5 Pro, or I'm perfectly fine with my PS5. What could Sony do to entice those people at all. And that's why the handheld's so interesting to me, where it's like that I think would. Where I don't think it would for everybody, but I think that there are just a lot of PlayStation players where they look at the PS6 and are like, but I'm kind of good with the PS5, PS5 is still pretty great. But then they got this handheld. It's like, whoa, yo, what's this? We haven't had a proper handheld from Sony since the Vita. Hold on now. And I think that's kind of genius. It has the potential to be genius, where it's like, if that technically counts as a PS6 sale, right? I don't know. It's an interesting maneuver. But I got a direct donation from Laman, who said, "Did you see Asmongold's video exposing the gaming journos celebrate?" I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna refrain from saying certain things because, bro, I'm pretty sure my channel is on the teetering edge from being completely shadow banned from some of the terminology I've been using recently. So forgive me. I don't want it to come down to this, but I can't. I got to try to keep my channel in good standing, man. But celebrating, we know what. And you say here, as well as Jeff Grubb, he lost the Microsoft gaming sponsor. You're saying he is scum. So I did come across that video, and it's very intense. Like, that video is there's way more intensity coming from a video like that than what I feel inside, truthfully. But it's not shocking to see. And I was watching it and I'm seeing, like, yeah, there's definitely there's a few issues, I think. It's like I said, the bad apples are out there, man. And I just hope that people wake up and realize that, like, I know there's like the whole saying, like, you got to fight fire with fire. And I know it's extremely unpopular these days to go against that, but I just really do believe that it's like, I know it's cliche. It is one of the most cliche sayings in the world. And it's like something you would hear in grade school, but it is crazy how relevant it remains. And it is that two wrongs do not make a right. And I think what a lot of people are finding out, just generally speaking, is that you can do a wrong in the effort to make a right, but there may still be consequences. Because, it's like, it's all about, you guys know me. I'm a big advocate for trying not to stoop down to certain levels, even in the content creation space. And I just think we have to be mindful. I think everybody would do well to be mindful. When it comes to what you're saying about Jeff Grubb, I don't follow Jeff Grubb. I mean, I follow, Reddit gaming leaks rumors to see if he has anything to say about an upcoming PlayStation show, but I would ask what was done or said, but I don't think I need to. And so, yeah, he's saying he lost his Microsoft spot. He lost his Microsoft gaming sponsor. I didn't even know there was a Microsoft gaming sponsor, to be honest. And that sucks, but this is why I just think sometimes people, people just have to be a little bit more self-aware of, maybe they are, maybe they just don't care, but it's like, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it, Laman. And the last thing I'll say before I continue to talk about the PlayStation 6 is that I've seen a lot of people apparently losing their jobs in the last 48 to 72 hours. I've seen a lot of people celebrating that. And, I just think it reveals that there's a lot of there's a lot of animosity out there, dude. There's a lot of animosity. And that animosity seems to go both ways. So, yeah, I did not know about that, Laman. I did not know about that. But We must close our hearts to it. Mario, as far as I'm aware, no, well, actually, they did make a statement to push Square, Sucker Punch, saying that that individual is no longer employed at the company. Um, but in terms of like something more broad, as of right now, no. And they may. It is Sunday. I don't know if they will or not. My 2 cents on that is it would be a good move, I think. I don't think it would hurt. I think it could only help. And I'm encouraging of that. But at the same time, I think the real root of it is because words are nice, and that means something to me, certainly, where it's like if you tell me this, okay, I want to take your word on it. But action is even more important. And if the necessary action is taken to correct what I would deem and I think what many people would deem a problem, that matters much more to me than anything else. But I understand exactly where people are coming from, and if we hear anything, I will certainly give you guys an update. It's the least I could do. But yeah, we will see what happens. I think that this is, what we're seeing happening right now is a little bit of an ongoing thing. I'm trying to move on, because I think a lot of people want that, and I want that too. Where there are other things to talk about, and I don't want the channel or everything that's done here to be consumed by one thing. Hmm. That's interesting, Laman. I didn't come across that. And I wonder if that's true. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, that's kind of what I was speaking to a little bit, where it's like from a business oriented standpoint, there has to be some level of concern where it's like you got to protect, like if there are a lot of good developers, if there are a lot of good, hardworking, talented people that don't deserve this, you have to protect that. You have to protect what's good, you know? And that is their responsibility from the top. So I wouldn't be surprised if they see something like that. They see those numbers and they're like, "Whoa, what's going on?" It's their job to figure out what is going on and again, take the appropriate and necessary action. So, we'll see what else is potentially done, if anything. Um all right. God. Sorry. So, getting back on track here. Again, apologies for all of the little side quests we're going on here. But when it comes to the specifications, and I wanted to ask my chat this question. Chat, again, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the specs. I saw somebody leave a comment on, and the reason why I'm asking you guys this is because I saw somebody on my video today leave a comment when we covered this topic, and they said that the specifications of the PlayStation 6 seem to be really not good at all. And they basically said that we're not going to see a true next gen leap, and it's just not going to happen. And so when we look at these specifications, we're looking at a 280 millimeter die on a 3 nanometer node. We're looking at 8 Zen 6C cores with 2 Zen C6 low power cores, an RDNA 5 GPU with 54 compute units, clocked between 2.6 and 3 gigahertz, 10 megabytes of L2 cache, and the RAM will be between 30 and 40 gigabytes of GDDR7 at 640 gigabytes per second, and 160 bit bus. Now, look, I know for a lot of people, those are just numbers and specs and whatnot, but my question is to anybody here, to those here who have an understanding, like a really well-rounded understanding of what these specs actually represent. Do you agree with this take? Like, do you agree with the idea that this is not enough, that this will not produce what we would deem a next generation leap? Or does it? You're saying it's not enough info. What else do you think we would need to know about Gothmog? Because I mean, I do understand that at the end of the day, these are just on paper specifications, and because of that, it until we see it, we're not really going to know how it translates when it's in action. I think we did see that with the PS5. There was a lot of assumptions of what the PS5 would and wouldn't do. The PS5 Pro is 16.7 T-flops. The PS6 will be around 40. Diminishing returns. It's 2025, not 1997. What is a next generation leap even supposed to do? And yeah, that's a great question. Because when I see these specifications, I think the reason why I don't feel impressed by them, but I don't feel let down by them either, is because, yeah, my understanding is that when the PlayStation 6 comes out, it's going to be it's basically going to be, here are really good looking games, like really good looking games that run at very high resolutions, at very high frame rates, and sometimes have a lot of ray tracing, which will make him look even better, even prettier. And yeah, that's where, like, when people think of what is the next gen leap going to be, people keep talking about AI. And we talk about things like frame gen and whatnot. And yeah, I think we're at a point where people want to kind of know, like, well, what does it mean for the games? And that's totally fair, because at the end of the day, why do you buy a console? You buy a console to play games. People want to know what changes for the games. And to be honest, I think there will be a lot of people that they don't need to see what we would consider a traditional next gen leap, because I think a lot of people are understanding that that's not going to happen. I think a lot of people are understanding that if you do show, like Spider-Man 3 at the PlayStation 6 launch event or reveal event, and it looks insanely good. Like, oh my God, like, this looks beautiful. This looks insane. Like, the level of realism, the lighting, it's like, whew, this is awesome. I think everybody who sees that is going to be looking at that with the understanding that it could still run on the PS5. You know what I mean? You'll be able to play this at 4K, 120 frames per second with ray tracing cranked up, like cranked to the max, with the DualSense 2, whatever the DualSense 2 is going to offer. And I don't know if they would integrate any type of AI that goes beyond, like, upscaling. That I really don't know. And it's like, okay, well, what's that compared to? Well, if Spider-Man 3, if you play it on the base PS5, it'll run at an upscaled 4K at 60 with very minimal or no ray tracing. And I do wonder, like, I just do wonder what that does for people, like, how many people are on the side that I'm on, and then I think some of you are on, where it's like, dude, whatever the PS6 is going to do for this game, I want it. Yeah, and the next version of PSSR, whatever it's going to do, I want that. I want that. I don't care if it's playable on the PS5. That's fine. But I want that, right? I want the top-notch, best experience I could get console-wise for Spider-Man 3 or for, Horizon 3 or whatever is going to be there at the launch. I do wonder what that number looks like compared to people who are like, I'm going to need to see a lot more than that. We have Mario B with a super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. And he says, developers barely began to scratch the surface with the PS5. The PS6 feels too soon, in my opinion. So I don't expect that much of a generational leap. And I think you're right about that. I think the only thing that could happen, Mario, and you can do a follow-up to this if you want, or anybody in the chat can answer this. Um, to people who feel that way, what would Sony have to show? Knowing that the PS6 is clearly coming in 2027. Like, it's clear that the reports of it being like a 2029 console are not true. So if it's going to be a holiday 2027 console, that means we're just a little over 2 years away from it. What would the PS6 have to show you? Like, what would you have to see on display? If anything, maybe there's nothing. What would it have to show you to be like, you know what? Actually, on second thought, I thought this was too soon, but I'm on board. Maybe that's tough to describe because maybe that is one of those things where it's like you just have to see it. And I knew somebody was going to say exclusives. And Makwi Ninja with a $2 super chat says PS6 going to be higher frame rate and much more ray tracing. Well, I think some people underestimate what higher levels of ray tracing can do for a game. I do think some people underestimate that. Ray tracing and especially path tracing can, in some instances, be transformative for a game. It won't change the game itself fundamentally. It won't change it. You know, I think we all understand that. But if it's implemented at a really high level and it's implemented well to a game that already looks really good, it can definitely elevate it quite a bit. But yeah, man, I do wonder. I do wonder. Absolutely, Hanzo. That's what I'm saying. Hanzo, I'm convinced that if Sony just reveals Bloodborne Remake as a PlayStation 6 exclusive, they won't really need to do much else, at least at the launch. You know, like if they just need one game to only be PS6 exclusive, it's Bloodborne Remake. Like, they're gonna sell units. Absolutely. Anything else is just a bonus. We're not seeing anything Bloodborne. Let us dream. Let us dream. Just like I dream of the showcase. You're saying the PlayStation 6 has to not have cross-gen games for PS5 to get people to upgrade, but you think the companies nowadays want to give up? Yeah, well, the whole cross. I'll tell you right now, my theory of cross-gen, I believe, has been confirmed. Now, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but I speculated for quite some time that I think pretty much every game is going to be cross-gen with the PS5. Every PS6 game is going to have a cross-gen counterpart for almost, I don't know if I feel confident saying the entire generation of the PS6, but for the majority of it. And I think that when we found out that there is going to be a PlayStation 6 handheld that launches alongside the PS6, that pretty much confirmed to me that, like, well, every first party PlayStation studio is going to make their game playable on that PlayStation 6 handheld. So because of that, there's really no reason there's literally no reason it shouldn't be playable on the PlayStation 5. And I think some people are going to be upset about that. I think some people are going to be frustrated. Some PlayStation enthusiasts are going to be like, bro, that PlayStation handheld's like the PS6 Series S or whatever. And maybe there will be truth to that, but I think this is just kind of the reality of like, well, okay, the other side of the question needs to be, answered in order to confirm that the PS5 and the PlayStation 6 handheld would hold back the PlayStation 6 itself. We need to have some idea of what exactly the PS6 could do for games if they're made just for the PS6 hardware. And I don't know, because we thought we were going to see that with the PS5, and I think we have, to a degree. It would be disingenuous to state that we have not seen PS5 only games that are doing what would be considered quote unquote next gen things that just are not possible on the PS5. I think we have seen that. I just don't think we've seen a lot of it. And maybe that's what will change, is that we will see a lot more of it once we truly move on from the PS4. And then a lot of that will transfer over to the PS6. But these are all, this is purely just speculation, obviously. We don't know if there's going to be PS6 only games. We don't know how many developers are going to say we just want to make our game for the PS6. We don't even know with the PlayStation 6 handheld if there's going to be a mandate or, a requirement. I could be wrong. I said every first party PlayStation studio is going to have to make sure their game runs on the PlayStation 6 handheld, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it won't be a requirement. Maybe they'll have the freedom to choose. So there's many questions, but at least one of the questions that's answered is, what will the PlayStation 6, the Orion APU, what are the full specs? Now we know. Now we know exactly what they are, apparently. And we have Lady K coming in. Lady K coming in out of nowhere saying we actually are not done with the member train. Dropping 5 more member gifts for you guys. And with that 5 bomb, that brings us to 80. So Lady K sets you up for a potential 20. We'll see. We'll see. We still got some time before the stream wraps up. We still have another topic to discuss. We cap it out usually at 100. So if you guys want to push to get that, why not? Definitely would help. But nonetheless, 80 is a massive number. So Lady K, thank you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Keeping it going. Perfect image. You're saying read my last message. Why are people getting mad at cross-gen where everyone was vacating when the PS3 didn't play? Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's, to be honest, I don't even know that getting mad at cross-gen will be a thing, mainly because I think, the questions have shifted. The question started as, are you going to make PS5 or, in this case, PS6 only games? And now that question, I think, shifted to, are you guys even doing exclusives anymore? So I think there's a lot of room and certainly a lot of time left. There's a lot of time left for Sony to answer all of these questions. Now, granted, most of these questions will not be answered for like another year and a half. So we do have a bit of waiting to do. But in that time, this is why I highlight earlier in the stream Sony's corporate, memo and what they're saying to shareholders, because it gives us some frame of reference. It gives us some answers for now and like what we can expect in the coming months and over the next year, perhaps. But Hideaki Nishino himself even hinted at, or not even hinted at, he just directly acknowledged like the next generation is at the top of mind, but we're not ready to go into the details yet. So they're still putting it all together, and there's clearly going to be a big plan in place and a big rollout to answer all of these questions. And I just think, in the meantime, we'll just have to continue as we get these leaks and rumors, try our best to, give our best guess, I guess you could say, as to like what we expect to happen, what sounds like the most logical, rational thing. And so, yeah, I think, my final thoughts on these PlayStation 6 specifications, I honestly don't really think much of it. I think it's cool to know what's going to be in the PS6. And I mean, yeah, I hear like a console that's going to be between 30 and 40 teraflops. It's like, damn, that sounds cool. But yeah, I have to admit that this is just one of these things where it's like, it sounds like Mark Cerny knows what he's doing. He's putting together this console in the way that he's trying to construct something that will be powerful and hopefully next gen. It'll feel next gen, but something that will also be affordable for the masses and won't price everybody out. So I'm assuming that these specifications I'm hearing, uh, it sounds like that's exactly what they're going for. But yeah, it really will just come down to the overall presentation. It'll come down to them showing the games, letting us know that here's what this can do, and we're here to show you. We're going to let the games do the talking, again. Do I think it will be Mark Cerny's last console? I think there's a good chance, yeah. And I think he even hinted at that. I think he hinted at the idea that what he's doing with the PS6 could be his last go at it. He's 61 years old now. I mean, it's possible that we could have in the future like 70-year-old Mark Cerny coming out, being like, "I got one more in me." It's possible. It's very possible. Miyamoto Cerny, but I think it also really comes down to what Sony's plans will be beyond the PlayStation 6, right? And it's impossible to even think about that because we're speculating what their plans are even for the PlayStation 6 generation. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. But, if the PlayStation 6 ends up being Mark Cerny's final console, I have no doubt that he'll do a great job and he'll deliver. Because I think he did so with the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. I've loved the PS5 for the 4 years straight that I used it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the PS5 Pro. And actually, this brings us to the final main topic of discussion that I wanted to go over with you guys. I'm a little bit late to this one, but we did get an update. This is the most interesting part, in my opinion, about this, is that we got an actual official update. Sony never responds to rumors, but in this case, they did. And it's nothing too crazy, but it should clarify something that I think was causing a little bit of confusion. So let me read the original report here. Again, this is Moore's Law is Dead. It says in a video shared by Moore's Law is Dead, he commented on when support for the new version of the upscaling technology is expected to hit the system. And really quick, before we move on from that, Makui Ninja is asking PS5 Pro versus 5090 ray tracing comparison? No. I mean, my assumption from where you're coming from, Makui Ninja, is that you heard that or read that somewhere. As far my understanding, like I said, is that the ray tracing that the PlayStation 6 will offer if it hits the higher end, the ray tracing, not the overall capability, but the ray tracing capability, supposedly, according to Moore's Law is Dead, will be in line with what we see now with the RTX 5090, ray tracing wise. Not overall performance, but just the ray tracing uplift. But a PS5 Pro going up against a 5090 with ray tracing, I haven't heard anything about that, and I don't think that's a comparison that exists at the moment, or even needs to. William, you're saying even though Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 will come out in 2027 on PS5, it's time for everyone to accept that FF7 Remake is a PS6 game. We're just being blessed to play the beta in 3 parts. Well, didn't it just come out, William, that like Part 3 is going to be like part 3 is going to be full multiplat? Makui Ninja, you're saying that's what Moore's Law is Dead said on ray tracing level. Yes. PS6, if there's a times 12 ray tracing uplift for the PS6, which would be the highest end, like that would be the peak of what it could do. It could theoretically, in his opinion, match the RTX 5090's ray tracing. But I don't know. A lot of PC players are like very upset about that comparison. I don't know enough about it to actually give an opinion either way. Like my takeaway is that it's going to have a lot of ray tracing and look really good. Right? Like that's my takeaway from it. Oh, okay, William. Yeah, I think that's interesting though that that's been officially confirmed. It really seems like there was a breakdown, like a complete breakdown between Sony and Square Enix with their exclusivity agreement. I have no doubt that part 3 was supposed to be. I'm fully assuming that FF7 part 3 will be multi-platform. Like I think it's going to launch day 1 on Switch um and Xbox and PC. It'd be interesting. Maybe I think it needs to, honestly. I think it would help it, but I guess we'll find out. But I do have, yeah, one last report I want to go over with you guys. So, yeah, Moore's Law is Dead also said that, I guess, according to his sources, um, this big, massive PSSR update that is set for the PlayStation 5 Pro is seemingly going to launch early 2026. Or as he puts it, the first quarter. So that would be between January and I guess April 1st. And so for those who don't know, or for those who forgot, Mark Cerny confirmed that in his partnership with AMD and Project Amethyst, they're going to be bringing, and this is how he said it, the full fat version of FSR 4. And FSR 4, for those who don't know, is AMD's AI upscaling technology. And FSR 4 has shown very good results on PC. FSR 4's like really impressed a lot of people. And it's like, wow, this is a pretty significant leap from FSR 3. And yes, that is before GTA 6. Gotta wonder if they're gonna use it though, right? But you know, the question of like, well, when is this update dropping? And also, does this mean like people were asking this question, does this mean PSSR is being replaced with FSR? So Sony's going to basically market, hey, FSR 4 on PS5 Pro. Well, interestingly enough, Sony did respond to this write-up by WCCF Tech, and WCCF Tech issued an update on September 10th at 5:33 p.m. saying, following this article's publication, Sony reached out to us to clarify that its new version of the PSSR upscaler, powered by the same algorithm powering AMD FSR 4, co-developed as part of Amethyst, the Amethyst joint project, by AMD and Sony, that will hit PlayStation 5 Pro next year, is not AMD's FSR 4. So, like, it's a weird way that they worded it, but I guess they had to word it very specifically. Essentially, what they're saying is that Sony reached out to them to confirm that it's going to be called PSSR. And that's, to me, somewhat important because, to me, that's a straight up confirmation that so we are looking at this update as this is going to be PSSR 2.0, essentially, or just version 2. Because Mark Cerny really emphasized how this is a big update for the Pro that's coming. And it is the full fat version of FSR 4. And I think what Mark Cerny was really just trying to say there is that everything that you see FSR 4 doing, that's exactly what you're going to get on the Pro with PSSR 2. Now, is this getting a bit semantical about it? I believe it is, but there is just some confusion where people were like, wait, I thought Sony had their own upscaling technology with PSSR. It just sounds like they're trading back and forth. Like, okay, AMD, you go first and put it out for your GPUs on PC, and then we'll bring it over to console and we'll brand it. We'll give it the PlayStation branding, PSSR 2. And it is exciting for the PS5 Pro. And, people were responding to this by saying, well, the question is, how many developers will use this? Because that's what it boils down to. I did see apparently that Borderlands 4 is not PS5 Pro enhanced. And I don't know how many of you guys are playing Chronos The New Dawn on PS5 Pro, but I even saw some people saying that Chronos is not enhanced on the PS5 Pro. And that is disappointing if true. Apparently it is true for Borderlands, though. I saw that. It is very disappointing that, you see a big AAA game not offering any type of PS5 Pro support. Now, granted, maybe they just didn't have the time because apparently that game has some performance issues. And we see that something like Metal Gear Solid Delta is saying, "Hey, we're PS5 Pro enhanced," but it's like, are you? Like, are you really though? In reality, it's they tried to do something with it and it just wasn't ready to go, so that they could say it was PS5 Pro enhanced. So we do have to kind of, I guess, keep in mind that for as exciting as this update is, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We have to see how developers choose to use it. And the hope, this is the hope, is that this big update will be even make it even easier for developers. Yeah, Bloober Team seems to have struggled with PSSR for whatever reason. Saying Chronos, Dying Light, The Beast are all AA games. Yeah, Chronos I think is a little bit more understanding if it's not PS5 Pro enhanced, but it seems to me that essentially this big PSSR 2.0 update, it should in theory make it even easier for developers to utilize PSSR and to produce even better results for the PS5 Pro. And of course, the big question, no doubt, the elephant in the room, as it were, GTA 6. Um, GTA 6, if it even, like, people talk about 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro for GTA 6. Is that possible? Is it achievable? I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. Only Rockstar knows. For all we know, there could be a 60 FPS mode in general, even for the base PS5. But I think the question is if GTA 6 is going to take advantage of PSSR, and if it does, will it take advantage of this new version of it? And if it does, what are those results actually going to look like? Again, questions we don't have answers to, but this is what people think about when they think about this upgrade. Um, and we do have to also wonder if this is a bit of a tease of, not a tease, but like an early look, I suppose, at like what we could get going into the PlayStation 6. Because when we talk about the PlayStation 6, PSSR is obviously going to be a big part of that. The leap we should see with PSSR for the PlayStation 6 will probably be massive. I mean, absolutely massive. You're probably talking about AMD's FSR 5 at that point, and what will end up being PSSR 3.0. And considering how good the results are for FSR 4 and what will end up being PSSR 2.0, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a hint of just how good this technology is going to be by the time the PlayStation 6 launches. And it's exciting because, Mark Cerny did go on record, I think, if you don't want to take Moore's Law is Dead's word for it, where he says it seems like it's going to be ready to go in the first quarter of 2026, which is early. It's very early in the year, pretty much at the beginning of the year. Mark Cerny did go on record in his last interview saying that they're making progress much quicker than he anticipated. So I think that's pretty exciting, man. I've really been enjoying the PS5 Pro, and I think games have been looking great and running great. And, it hasn't been perfect. But again, like something like Metal Gear Delta proves that it's not perfect. And, for the amount of money you pay for this console, you'd really hope that developers, like, come on, there shouldn't be any, there really shouldn't be any misfires here at all, because it's, this is what we're paying for. But, generally speaking, more broadly speaking, it's been a really good experience overall. And I have to admit, it's pretty cool to own a console where this is the first time as a console owner, like as somebody who's, that's all I like to play on, where my console is going to be getting an upgrade, seemingly, uh, in like a year after I bought it, or a little over a year after I bought it. Um, I know that's like that's been normal for PC for some time, but in the console space, like that's fresh. Like that's not expected. That's not the norm. And it's going to be, I don't really follow Digital Foundry that closely anymore. I do for some stuff, but this is one of those areas where I'm definitely going to be interested to see. Um, or, maybe Sony will, it almost sounds like Sony will do their own presentation. I mean, Sony has been known to do a state of play in Q1 of the new year. So January, February, March, if this is ready to go, this could be like a big announcement that they make at like a state of play or something, and they could try to show us right then and there. You know, um, if you think about it, and look, I don't want to get people too excited, and I am going to allow myself to get a little bit ahead of myself right now. I don't want to get people too excited, but if you think about it, around the time that this FSR 4 update is going to go live, or sorry, PSSR 2.0 on the PS5 Pro, and it's going to go live for developers, um, assuming that they will have a host of games and devs to say, here are the developers that are already utilizing it or going to support it for their games. This would be around the time that GTA 6 is going to be in marketing mode. So, again, I'm not trying to get anybody overly excited, but I'm just trying to point out, just a couple dots that maybe can be connected. So, will be very interesting. Certainly very interesting to see if there's maybe a planned marketing push for the PS5 Pro, GTA 6, and we know that Sony and Rockstar have a great relationship, or partnership, I should say. So it's possible, but I wouldn't hold my breath. We'll just see what happens, but that'd be very cool. I know what you're saying. They could use GTA 6 to market the PS5 Pro with PSSR 2. Exactly. It'd be a pretty good match. And we do know that if you watch the last GTA 6 trailer, it does say running on PS5. You could use that as like a base, so they showed you like at a base level what the game will look like. Here's GTA 6 running on a base PS5. Now, the next trailer they put out, they could say, here's GTA 6 running on PS5 Pro. I don't know if I'm expecting that, but they could do that and show you the other side of it, on the high end. Yeah, Chris, I don't know what's going on with that, man. Zero difference. Chris, I don't know what's going on with that. We've been hearing for a long time now that there's going to be some kind of Red Dead Redemption 2 PS5 upgrade, or PS5 version, or next gen version, or current gen version, I should say. And so far, nothing. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not. I believed it for the longest time, but it's just like it has yet to be announced, and we're getting close to the end of the year now. Like, we still have time. There's still a lot of time between now and GTA 6, but the closer we get to 2026 without this announcement, I'm thinking there's no way they're just going to announce it during what will end up being their marketing cycle for GTA 6. Like that, they're not going to interfere with themselves that way. My eye is beginning to itch again, man. I don't know why. It's allergies, let me tell you. IBG, what would you do if they delay GTA 6 to PlayStation 6? And the reason they give is that it's the greatest game they've ever made, but it's not good enough. I mean, by that point, bro, it's just like, oh, okay. Like I don't even think I could be. Well, William, it depends. Is there still going to be a PS5 version? If they say it's going to be next gen only, well, that's a problem. That would definitely be a problem. I think they would get sued at that point. But if they're like, we're delaying it because we want to actually have it, we want to launch it alongside the PS6, no PS5 version because it's not powerful enough, they refund everyone. I mean, I'd be a little upset. I'd be like, "Yo, what is going on?" Um, but if that's what they chose to do, and it's just like there's nothing I can do about it, say, "Okay, I'll be there." I don't think it wouldn't rattle me that much because dude, GTA 6 even now it still feels like a I know it's real. We got a trailer, it's coming next year, but it still feels kind of like a pipe dream. It's like one of those things where it feels like it's not going to feel real until it's actually here. So, I could find out tomorrow that like yeah, it's delayed to, you know, next gen. It's like, okay, it's been like 12 years. What's another 2? You know, it doesn't matter. I'll take it. I'll be here. I'll be here when it launches. No, but in reality, William, I think there would be an uproar. I think people would lose their ever loving minds, bro, if they announced that. Um, I still think it could get delayed again. I mean, I didn't want to go there, but yeah, it could get that crazy. They're going to end up causing a riot. Jeez, man, I don't know what is going on. I'm having that like thing happen midstream where I don't know if it's the cat hair or the cat dander or something, but it's like it's making my face itchy. It's making my eyes itch. Like, what is going on? Stay positive. Don't say it's going to get delayed. I don't, I think it's a 50-50 thing, dude. Look, my assumption is that if they were not truly confident about that date, I think that they would have just said delayed to 2026, and they wouldn't have put a date on it. But they put a date on it, and I think they did that because you know, I mean, why would they date it after all this time if they weren't sure? They originally put a year. They put 2025 without a date. Then it got delayed out of 2025, and they're like, all right, we have to figure out an actual date then, and we need to settle on that. Gotta shave the mustache. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm so used to having the mustache, but they could, they could. They absolutely could delay it again. And I don't think anybody would be that shocked. But my biggest reason for thinking that actually they would delay it is because why at that point should GTA 6 not be a holiday title? You know what I mean? Like if you're Take Two, like releasing it during the holiday, I think it. Well, the more I'm pondering here, maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, there's nothing quite like GTA 6. So in reality, it's like, does it matter? May, October, November, it doesn't matter. People are going to be there. The question that I will continue to have until GTA 6 launches is will GTA 6 show up at any PlayStation event? That is a question I continue to have. And as of right now, the answer's been no. But now that we know they're showing it off on PS5, that does confirm seemingly a marketing deal of some kind. It makes me wonder if there is some type of plan where at some point Rockstar will show off GTA in some way, shape, or form. There will be some type of trailer, something. GTA 6 might have its own show. They could do that. They should do that. Hell, that'd be even better. Yeah, they should do their own show. But I don't think they've ever done anything like that. Rockstar traditionally has either shown stuff on their own in terms of like, we're just going to drop it, or they've shown up at other events. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Red Dead 2 showed up a few times, at least once. I know it was at least one time at a PlayStation event, right? Or at a PlayStation E3, right? I'm fairly certain. Dark Cloud, I'm pretty sure that. You know what's funny about that? Isn't that what Post Malone said about his mustache? Isn't that where that comes from? That is funny. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. We're in a different time. It's not 2018. That is true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, we could just see Rockstar do their own thing, man. Do you remember the first game revealed for the PS5 during the I think you're talking about the Future of Gaming event? Yep, it was GTA 5. Oh, I didn't forget. I didn't forget. It's very telling. It's very telling when you see Sony, the very first thing they announced for their PS5 event is GTA 5 and their continued partnership with Rockstar Games. That's very telling. So, yeah, well, I mean, dude, when Vice City came out, it was like a PS2 exclusive, if I'm not mistaken, which is so crazy to think. Same thing with GTA 3, and I even think San Andreas. MBG, would you rather Sony buy Take-Two and never be able to buy anything ever again, or WB, but they can buy other things? I think I'd rather see them, if I had to choose between the two, I think I'd rather see them get WB, because I think WB's been kind of floundering in some regard, and they don't, like, I think WB needs better management, and Sony has I mean, look, I'm not saying Sony's perfect, but they have a lot of experience in game management, and studio management. And I think it would be great to see some of the studios that I think are well respected, like Rocksteady and NetherRealm. I would love to see what Sony could do with them, in terms of like improving them, hopefully, and guiding them, and you know, getting more out of them ultimately. Um, but I don't know. I don't know if Sony. I don't think Sony would ever even attempt to make a play for Take-Two Interactive. That to me would be, that one would be the reason why Take-Two Interactive would be way less exciting, is because Take-Two just, they know what they're doing. So that would be just, it would be similar to the ABK deal, where like Sony isn't really planning on doing much. Just like, hey, you guys, whatever money you make, it's just going to flow into our pockets now. But you just keep doing your thing. So like nothing changes. I feel like with WB, they've had, like I said, they've had some trouble. So if Paramount acquires WB, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence for the gaming side of things, because what is Paramount doing in gaming? What experience does Paramount have in gaming? You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So hopefully that answer makes sense, but I don't know when or if Sony's going to acquire anybody else. Yeah, that's what's crazy, William, is the IP that WB owns. There's a lot of value there. And we did hear that rumor that there is apparently a new Batman game in development at Rocksteady, and Sony is trying to do something with it. Like lock down some type of exclusivity or partnership or something. So Sony definitely has an interest in some of the IP that WB owns. And Injustice 3 is in development, which will be interesting to see, because didn't realize how long it's been since we got Injustice 2. That was a fun game. I enjoyed the Injustice games. Did I see the new Resident Evil 9 trailer? I did. And apparently, dude, rumor has it that Leon is coming, man. He is going to be revealed. And it seems like it's going to happen at Tokyo Game Show or the upcoming PlayStation event. Apparently it is happening. Ghetto God says, pause. Do I think the Wolverine game will outsell the Arkham games? I'm not sure. I don't know where the Arkham games stand with sales. Oh, yeah. And apparently Resident Evil 9 is coming to PS4. They did. I think Capcom accidentally leaked that. So, we're going to be getting a PS4 game in 2026. This is why I'm saying when we talk about the PlayStation 6 and when we have these conversations, This is why I say, man, expect cross-gen to linger pretty much the entire gen. How's Mrs. MBG feeling about the Nintendo Direct? She did tune into it, and I don't I don't think she was too happy with it, only because her big thing is she wanted Animal Crossing. And there were a couple things though she saw that she did like, and I think like that Pokemon game at the end. I think I remember she turned to me and she said that, well, that might do it. Like, I think they just sold me on finally, on getting a Switch 2 now. And so I think there was enough shown that made her want to get a Switch 2. But her big thing was Animal Crossing. And it was funny because like apparently in the chat there's a lot of people that wanted to do Animal Crossing and that wasn't happening. So, dude, hold on. I wasn't watching that event. I was like next to Mrs. MBG while she was watching it on her phone. But I had to like peek over and see when they were announcing the oh my god, what is it? The thing that you said, what's it called? I know it's like the biggest failure that Nintendo ever put out. And they're putting it out for like their classics or whatever. Hanzo, thank you for that, buddy. Thank you. What's it called? The Leon Wesker Kennedy? Hanzo, what? The Virtual Boy, thank you. You said Burial Boy, but yeah, that's the Virtual Boy. Dude, look, man. What? Am I the only one that's looking at that and is like, is Nintendo like full lost it, bro? I don't know. I'm just I don't care. But I just saw it and I'm like, is this a joke, right? And you have to buy it separately. Like you have to actually buy the I don't know. I don't know if I'm like over maybe I'm like I feel like I'm missing something. You said what the F2? Okay. Like I couldn't tell. I was just like, what am I looking at, bro? I thought for sure they were going to make some kind of joke about it. And then they were like dead ass serious. Like, no, we're selling you this. You're going to buy this. You understand? I'm like, I'm not going to lie, man. I was like, I'm glad I'm not into Nintendo anymore, man. Cause I would have, I don't know. It was just weird to me. Didn't that Virtual Boy device, didn't it like hurt people's eyes or something or cause like vision damage or some crazy shit like that? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, William. They sold you literal cardboard. What, dude, can anything top that? I don't think anything can top that. I forgot about that, dude. Oh my God. They sold you literal cardboard that you had to put together yourself. What was it called? Labo or something? Headaches and lawsuits incoming. Dude, that is nuts though. Like, what is that? What is that? You had to sit on a table and lean into it. Dude, everything that we're discussing right now just sounds wrong and messed up. Everything. It's no offense to Nintendo or the fan base, but it's just this. I just happen to come across this stuff sometimes, man. I think I just blew a bubble with my mouth, with my spit, accidentally. Ain't no way. What's Nintendo doing to me? MBG on a rant on how no one will buy it, but he has someone here saying will buy it. Well, dude, I can't even judge because like I'm just that disconnected from Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like if doing YouTube was literally for me just about viewership and just about chasing trends, like hating on Nintendo right now would be the most like easiest thing to do. But I can't do it because it's like I don't care. I don't. Like, I don't play Nintendo. I don't care about Nintendo. If I had any skin in the game whatsoever, maybe I would, but I don't. And that's why it's like I see people freaking out about stuff and I'm like trying to pay some attention to it, like what's going on over here. But then it's like, oh wait, that's right. I don't give money to Nintendo. Now, granted, that's actually not true. I do give money to Nintendo, but I do so for my family, and like my family members who want to play on Nintendo. And I'm just like, oh, if it makes you happy, then I'm happy. I don't really care what's going on over here. But if I was like into it, if I actually cared, I do wonder what I would be thinking. Um, all I know is that if Sony tried to sell me cardboard, I'm gonna be like, Sony, what did you smoke? What did the boardroom? What were they smoking when they decided they're gonna sell me cardboard? I'll take 3. No, I'm just kidding. Cardboard, life-size cardboard cutouts of Abby, and you assemble it yourself. $100. I'll take 3. Jake, you're saying the only Nintendo you owned was a DS, and your aunt had a Wii. It's funny. I got a Wii as a gift, and I remember playing that for a little while. Wii Bowling or like Wii Sports, that was like the most popular thing. PlayStation origami paper, where you fold figures and they become usable characters scanned into a game. Would you buy? No, I would not. Oh, hell no, I would not buy that, William. I mean, I'd have to like really evaluate, like, is this something that anybody should be excited about? But anything, like, they're telling me I got to like do it myself. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I've seen people talk about like if Sony were to do like the amiibo thing. The amiibos I can kind of understand. That makes more sense to me. And I think people are asking for that, right? They're asking for them to come back. But I don't know. I would have to question if I would want to, if Sony were to do that, if that's something that I would care about. I guess if it was like for a game or something, it would make more sense. But Sony Home, oh yeah, Sony should bring that back, dude. People miss home, and Sony was ahead of the curve with that. But I don't think they'll. If they haven't brought it back by now, I don't think they're going to. Well, yeah, Chris. I mean, that's the thing, bro. I'm not trying to dunk on anybody. You're right. Sony sold us a $700 console with no disc drive or a stand. They sold me a $30 stand separately. I ain't got no room to talk. You're right. I ain't got no room to talk. But I did tell them, yo, Sony, what are you doing? What are you doing out here? It was the early metaverse. It was. Pepitoire, we're going to talk about that tomorrow for tomorrow's show. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about it. I definitely have some thoughts on it. Yeah, dude, the funniest thing I think about the PS5 Pro or even like the PS5 Slim is like the little plastic stands you put under to put it horizontal. It's like not that big of a deal because it's like as long as it gets a job done, but it's so funny. Like it looks like the cheapest thing ever. It's like, really, dude? Like that, like this is why it was what made the launch PS5 feel kind of cool in that like it had this really decent stand where it's like, it was originally being made fun of because you needed a screwdriver, but looking back on it, it's like actually maybe that was pretty good. It was like made you realize it was a little bit more premium, a little bit nicer. Yeah, Temu plastic trash. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the PS6 because we did recently cover how, according to a new report from Tom Henderson, Sony's looking to cut costs where they can with the PS6, and part of that is going to be its overall design. So I'm assuming it's going to be something very simple. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's little plastic feet things, stands, if we get them again with the PS6. So brace yourselves. No premium stands for you. Or you could buy a premium stand. Yeah, there you go. That's what they're going to do. Look, if you want the premium vertical stand, you know what, though? To be fair, like when Sony put that out there, people were pointing out that they've been doing that since the PS2 era. And I'm like, oh, I think you're right. Actually, I'm not saying it makes it right, but I guess you could say like they've had a level of consistency with that, where they've always made you pay for the vertical stands, except for the PS5. I think the PS5 may have been the only time where it's like if you bought the console, you get a stand that can put it up vertically. But I think it's because they had to do that. I don't think Sony would have done that if they didn't have to. Scam. Well, to be honest, yeah, I prefer to keep my consoles horizontal. I actually do have my Pro vertical, but well, actually, come to think of it, the PS5 in the living room is vertical too. But that's because that's the I always want to say 20th, the 30th anniversary console, and that came with the stand. Luckily, um, but generally speaking, actually, outside of the Pro and that console, I've always kept my consoles horizontal, and apparently that's the recommended. Supposedly, that's the recommended way to keep the PS5 for longevity. So maybe I'll actually end up. I don't know. It's kind of hard though because I have the stand for the Pro, so it's like I'll just keep it vertical. Paid for that shit, you know. Um, you could. Well, yeah. I think with the PS5 Slim and the Pro, you don't need the stand. You don't need it. Like you can just stand it up vertically, but I think it is at a much greater risk of falling over. Um, so I guess it really just comes down to if you expect it to fall or you really want to play it safe and keep it vertical. But guys, I see that we're over the 3 hour mark and we clearly expended our topics. We can chat here for a couple more minutes, but here's what we'll do. We'll do like a last call. I'll go, I think, till like 3:15. So like the 3 hour and 15 minute mark. And we'll do a last call. If you want to drop any more support before we wrap up today's stream and discussion, now would be the time to become a member, drop membership gifts. We are sitting at 80 members, which is fantastic. Huge shout out again to Silent Spartan for making that happen. But if you want to contribute any more and get us to that 100 mark, we'll do that. I do have to give you guys some reps as well. I do owe you that. Double reps, in fact. So I guess we'll probably wrap up by doing that. And yeah, if you want to drop any more super chats or direct donations, now would be the time to do it. We'll be wrapping up in a couple minutes. Lonely Fades with a $2 super chat says, "Do you think the state of play well, you say here you're thinking it's going to be on the 23rd, and I think you're asking if I agree, if I think that's when it's going to be. Yeah, the 23rd seems like a really likely date for this event, whether it's a state of play or something else, because TGS starts on Thursday. And so I think the two dates we're looking at for the state of play are either Tuesday, the 23rd, which would be exactly, well, not exactly, but just a little over 1 week from now. But if they want to go after TGS, then I think Tuesday, the 30th of September I think those are the two most likely dates. But I don't know. The reality is it's gotten to a point where it's like nearly impossible to predict these dates because Sony is just kind of, you know, they'll announce it a day before. They'll do it on Sundays. They'll do it on Fridays. They'll do it on Wednesdays. They'll do it on Mondays. I mean, they'll do it whenever. You know, they'll host these events whenever. So, the one assumption I will make though is that if this is going to be like a bigger event, like a more exciting one, like I'm not saying it will be a showcase, but if it's going to be like a big state of play, I think they'll announce it a little bit earlier. They'll give it at least a couple days. So it could be announced by the end of this week, but we'll see. We'll see. It is happening apparently. And, you know, if we get any updates, Oh, oh, hold on. I think we actually have a bit of an exciting rumor here. Oh, okay. We could have something pretty exciting to talk about tomorrow, guys. You get a little tease right now. Now, this isn't about the event, but this is something we have been asking about for a long time. According to MP First, Wolverine is aiming for a 2026 release, and Venom is still in development. But they apparently they cannot determine how advanced it is in development, but it is happening. Like Venom is not canceled. Ooh, okay. All right. Well, we'll discuss that tomorrow. That'll be a make for a great topic. Um, MP First. I mean, they've been. I feel like MP First. They've been doing some digging, right? I feel like they've been doing some good journalism for PlayStation. If they're the website I'm thinking of, they've been having a couple of PlayStation reports. Um, so we'll definitely talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, that's exciting. I know. Yeah, Devil Shooter's excited. He wants that Venom game. All right, Hanzo, you're heading out. Yeah. So guys, you don't have to stick around for the reps if you don't want to. That's totally fine. But do me a favor, if you're heading out, just please take a moment if you haven't already and make sure you hit that like button. We're at 167 likes. I want to see if we can get that to 175. I think we could easily hit 175 because I told you guys I thought we could easily hit 150. We did. Let's bump that up to 175. The likes definitely help, and I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, this is some exciting news. I wasn't expecting to see that. What if they have a dual reveal, dude? All right, I don't want to get overly excited. I'll save it for the conversation tomorrow. But man, what if Insomniac comes back with a vengeance? They're like, we got 2 games to reveal for you guys today, or show you. That'd be sick. I do have to figure out. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to give you too much hope. I don't want to give you too much hope. I do have to figure out what music I'm going to play though for the reps. Maybe I should do Metal Gear. I feel like it's been a while since I've done Metal Gear, and I never get copyrighted for Metal Gear, which is nice. Do all right. So, like I said, every time we hit the 50 member mark, I do reps for you guys. And I gotta do a couple more this time around. We'll do like an extra set or two, because I owe you that for the last stream. So thank you guys for getting us to the goal of 50 members. Huge shout out to this community. Again, man, I know I say it all the time, but I love being able to do this. It has its ups and downs, just like everything else does. But generally speaking, I try to keep perspective that, this is something that is more of like a privilege than anything, to be able to do. And so thank you guys for continuing to allow me to do it. And yeah, like I said, we will have members content coming later this week. At the very least, we're going to be doing, I would say, we will do a members lounge for sure. We might end up doing multiple members lounges because I am still playing Metal Gear, and I was thinking about maybe doing another Metal Gear stream, and I'm a little bit torn on that. I'm not sure if people want to see another Metal Gear stream or not, but just make sure you have notifications turned on. Dark Cloud, yeah, thank you for tuning in, man. You thought for sure it'd be canceled with the passing of Tony Todd. The thing about that is apparently Tony Todd went on record, before his passing, and it's unfortunate that he passed away. Of course, he's a really good actor. He did a great job as Venom. According to him, he said Insomniac only used about 10% of his voice lines, so they're sitting on like 90% of recorded stuff that that's another reason I thought, like, yeah, I think they are going to do a Venom game. So, yeah, just guys, be sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll definitely talk about that. And we also are going to talk about the interview that Neil Druckmann did. Definitely some interesting stuff there. But with that being said, let's get the reps in. We'll do the Shagahad theme. All right. Well, there we go. Hopefully that's good enough. As I still have to do yeah, I need to bring back the reps emoji. You're absolutely right. No breathing. I try to breathe through my nose when I can. Apparently it's better for you, but just catching my breath here for a second. Start lifting the cats. Oh my God, yeah, if I want to get torn to shreds, they'll tear me up. They will tear me up. Stop that. Boss, you've had more than enough treats, dude. Oh my God. You got to do some reps. Boss is going to have to start doing some reps, man. All right. Well, where are we? 3 hours and 22 minutes. DualSense Skull Crushers to finish. Yo, wait, hold on. DualSense Skull Crushers. I can't do it. I can't get the right angle, bro. Dude, that's so funny. I just break out the bench, lay down. Gotta get those Skull Crushers in. I guess it's the hold 2 like that. So stupid. DualSense reps. We've done it before. We'll do it again. Don't test me. All right. Let's see. I'll try to end this at exactly the 3 hour and 25 minute mark. But there you go, guys. We are 1 like away, by the way, on the stream. 1 like away from hitting 175 likes. So thank you guys for that. And I'll do my proper outro now. Thanking everybody for tuning in. If you watch the stream live and you're still watching it live, thank you for that. Thank you to those that, can't catch the streams live, but still come back and watch them later. Really appreciate your viewership. Thank you for, taking any amount of time to watch any of my content. I asked you guys in a poll, how important is ray tracing to you? 334 votes. 44% of you say somewhat important. 31% of you say not at all. 20% say very. 4% say, what is ray tracing? So there you go. Those are the results. I guess we'll find out. We will find out just how important it is for Mark Cerny and the PlayStation 6. But yeah, thank you guys for all of your donations. 80 members absolutely crushed it today. Silent Spartan did some heavy lifting for the community and myself. Anybody who dropped any super chats, if you were new to your membership, or if you dropped a direct donation, thank you so much. We keep the channel sponsorship free. And Leia, please stop that. And I'm only able to do that because you guys make it possible to keep it that way. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also want to give a special shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks. Show him some love. I know he appreciates it. And yeah, Lady K dropped some membership gifts, and they say, please leave a comment, thought, or opinion. Yeah, guys, make sure you come back and leave comments if you want on the stream. It definitely helps the streams that way as well with the algorithm. YouTube looks for that stuff. But yeah, that's it, guys. Please enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We will be back here tomorrow with some more content. I definitely have some topics that I want to discuss with you guys. So I hope to see you then. And that's it. So, guys, until the next stream, take care, everyone.